Chapter 2183. How else could it be said? Some people's luck was innate, and others couldn't even ask for it. It couldn't be helped. This was the legendary. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. Zhong Haoran and the others had probably received Xiaohua's test, and in the future, they would be able to part the dark clouds and see the bright moon. But Xiang Zhili only had to kowtow a few times, and the road ahead had already reached the heavens. Hee, this child. Xiaohua looked at Xiang Zhili with a smile. Where was the dissatisfaction of being schemed against? At this time, Xiaohua had already left the cave, and was sitting in Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian's cave. It's all because of my poor upbringing. Yan Qinglian hurriedly smiled apologetically. She knew that Xiaohua was still a little petty, especially from Cui Hongshan today. Not at all. Xiaohua waved his hand. They are all my juniors. If I don't help him, who else can I help? However, the gift for the child is a bit too little. I really feel bad about it. Ha, you still feel bad about it? Xiangyang laughed. Little junior brother, what else do you want to give him? He's still too young. It's really inappropriate to give him too much. Xiaohua scratched his head, and his heart moved again. He nodded and said, that magic treasure is nothing. As for the rest, I already have some ideas. However, this matter is a bit tricky. However, I'll take a look. I'll definitely make senior brother satisfied. Then he looked at Xiang Zhili and said, Lear, you go back and rest first. Foster father has something to say to your parents. Xiaohua's words were a bit inappropriate. After all, this was Xiangyang's cave. However, Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian didn't show any dissatisfaction. Xiang Zhili was even more happy. Knowing that Xiaohua didn't blame him for his decision today, he immediately stood up and bowed. Yes, this boy originally wanted to accompany foster father. However, this boy must obey foster father's orders. Then Xiang Zhili saluted Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian and slowly left. Hee, senior brother. Xiaohua looked at Xiang Zhili's back and said with a smile, Leah really missed you. His future cultivation will definitely be extraordinary. Haha. Xiangyang smiled modestly and shook his head. I didn't know what master was thinking before. I always felt that he blamed me for nothing. But now that I have my own child, I know that it seems that I have to compete with others in everything. Although there was no need to compare, and it was fine to let the child cultivate on his own, but seeing that other people could cultivate it, his own child couldn't. It was clearly a simple technique, but he couldn't understand it. How could he not be angry? When Li-Er was young, I also taught him a lesson. What's there to talk about having an extraordinary cultivation? It's all fake. Yan Qinglian echoed. As a matter of fact, we will be satisfied as long as our children can live the life that they want. Training and achievements are more like coercion for our children than expectations. Haha, Xiaohua scratched his head. This little brother really doesn't know. Haha, Xiangyang laughed and patted his shoulder. You'll find out sooner or later. Isn't that so? Yan Qinglian also pursed her lips and smiled. It can't be too little, right? Fine. Xiaohua's face reddened as he begged for mercy. Senior brother and eldest sister-in-law, please don't joke about this little brother. This little brother let Lear go because of two things. Oh. Xiangyang glanced at Yan Qinglian. Both of them were somewhat serious, knowing that Xiaohua had something important to say. Sure enough, Xiaohua clapped his hands and took out a rainbow epiphyllum and handed it over. He said with a smile, this little brother's experience really has some gains. As for what this thing is used for, this little brother won't go into detail. Although Li-Er has Reverend Lei Meng watching over him, there's no need to worry too much about him developing his divine sense when he builds his foundation. However, it's better to prepare early than to beg others. This thing looks extremely old. This little brother was too embarrassed to take it out just now. I was also afraid that Li-Er would become lazy if he knew too much. Ah? Rainbow epiphyllum? Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian's jaws were about to hit the ground. This thing was a divine item that could develop divine sense. It had always been something that could only be chanced upon and not sought. Xiangyang had already started looking for it when Xiang Zhili was at the 6th layer of qi refining, but he hadn't received any news. Especially now that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had changed greatly. This kind of divine item was even rarer. Xiangyang was almost worried. Now that it had suddenly appeared in front of him, how could he not be shocked? I'm afraid it has to be several thousand years old? Yan Qinglian asked tentatively. How would this little brother know? Xiao Hua was the best at pretending to be confused. He stuffed the thing into Xiangyang's hands and smiled. Either way, this little brother has no use for it. I don't care how old it is. This kind of divine item. Xiangyang took it and sighed. Forget it. This elder brother won't say anything else. I can only accept it. That's right, don't be long-winded. This little brother's is senior brother's. Xiao Hua smiled as he looked at Xiangyang accepting it. He then asked, the second thing this little brother wants to ask is, do you still have the lightning beast's inner core? You didn't give it all to Thunder Palace, right? Sure. When Xiangyang heard this, his face immediately turned cold. He formed a seal with his hands and set up a silencing restriction. He then said, this elder brother has used half of the lightning beast's inner core. And it can't be said to be half. It's only about 30%. As for the rest, this elder brother took it back to Myriad Thunder Valley and asked Master to make a decision. Master was clever and handed over Martial Uncle Zhengye's things. However, he left the lightning beast's inner core behind. However, Master, he didn't seem to have used it. He said that he would only use it at the last crucial moment. As for the rest, I'm afraid he gave it to junior brother Cui. When he finished speaking, Xiangyang's face turned somewhat ugly. Junior brother Xiao Yu, what do you want the lightning beast's inner core for? That could it be that you've already used it up? Yan Qinglian hurriedly asked. Oh, that little brother naturally didn't use it up, Xiao Hua muttered. However, this little brother wants to use the male lightning beast's inner core now. I'll have to trouble senior brother. Junior brother Xiao. Xiangyang coughed and said, this lightning beast's inner core should belong to junior brother. Even if I don't take it, it's only right. However, junior brother Cui is a disciple of Myriad Thunder Valley. That lightning beast's inner core. I heard from him that he was going to give it to Dui Qiming as a betrothal gift. If you take it, what will he do? How much did he take? Xiao Hua asked coldly. The remaining 70%. Master kept 30%. I'm afraid he gave 40% to him. Xiangyang hesitated and said, can Master's 30% be used up? Xiao Hua asked again. Xiangyang hesitated again. He glanced at Yan Qinglian and said, Master said that the lightning beast's inner core is no small matter. Even if I want to repair my Dao foundation, I only need 20%. As for the remaining 10%, it's all given to Li. I'm afraid he only needs 10%. So it's like this. Xiao Hua nodded. He muttered a few words to Xiangyang through voice transmission. After listening to Xiao Hua's explanation, Xiangyang smiled bitterly and said, Junior brother Xiao, why do you have to do this? Master giving it to him is another matter. However, that thing is mine. I have a use for it now. I'll have to trouble senior brother this time, Xiao Hua said with a slightly cold tone. All right. Xiangyang nodded helplessly. He got up and left. Since Xiao Hua took out the rainbow epiphyllum for Xiangjili, he had no choice but to help Xiao Hua with this matter. Senior sister-in-law, don't stay idle. Xiao Hua also transmitted his voice to Yan Qinglian. Ah, you actually have ideas about Master? Yan Qinglian was shocked when she heard this. Xiao Hua smiled and said, Master only needs 10%. Who does he want to leave the rest for? You only need to do as I say. Master will definitely give it to you. All right. Yan Qinglian was helpless. She also got up and said, this concubine will try. Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian were both sent away by Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua sat alone on the jade chair in the hall with his eyes closed. No one knew what he was doing. At this time, a small head popped out from the side. It secretly looked at him, and then hid again. After a while, Xiangjili walked over with a jade plate in his hand. On the plate, there was a jade pot and a few jade cups. When Xiangjili walked to Xiao Hua's side, he carefully put the jade plate on the table. He picked up the jade pot and poured the spirit wine into the jade cups. He didn't make any sound. Then he put the cups down and sat beside Xiao Hua. He actually used his small hands to support his cheeks and looked at Xiaohua curiously. What are you doing? Xiaohua suddenly opened his eyes and asked curiously. Foster father, are you thirsty? This is the spirit wine that mother treasures. Try it. Xiang Zhili was shocked. He quickly jumped down from the chair and said respectfully, You want me to drink wine? Xiaohua said with a smile. Hee. Xiang Zhili said with a smile. Inviting foster father to drink wine is naturally one thing. However, the boy is still curious. Father and mother often say that foster father's cultivation is so high that they can't catch up. But foster father's cultivation is only at the early stage of foundation establishment. It seems that compared to father and mother, you are far worse. Even Martial Uncle Chui can't catch up. Foster father, are you really that powerful? Xiaohua smiled. He reached out and picked up the small wine cup. He took a sip and said, How do you know that my cultivation is only at the early stage of foundation establishment? Naturally, it's a sensing technique. Xiang Zhili asked curiously. If the boy has spiritual pressure, he can also use it to test it. Since there's a technique to sense other people's cultivation, there's naturally a technique to prevent others from sensing your own cultivation, Xiaohua said with a smile. Moreover, that spiritual pressure may not be reliable. There's such a technique? Xiang Zhili's eyes lit up. He clapped his hands and said, Then wouldn't the boy be able to make others think that the boy is only at the second stage of qi refining? If they use ordinary techniques to attack the boy can defeat them with his true cultivation at the 7th stage of qi refining? Xiaohua was speechless. Isn't this child too smart? That's right, foster father. Father said that in the future, foster father will teach me a great divine ability. Is this that great divine ability? Senior, can you teach the boy now? Xiang Zhili's face was filled with longing. Looking at Xiang Zhili's small face, Xiaohua suddenly thought of Taoist Jingru's sinister face. Thus Xiaohua sighed and said, What kind of great technique is that? Xiaohua laughed hoarsely. He patted his forehead and spat out a ray of green-red light from his mouth. That ray of green-red light circled the entire cave. Even someone like Xiang Zhili, who was at the 7th stage of qi refining, couldn't see any clues. When the ray of green-red light landed in Xiaohua's hand, it was the execution dream that had successfully conceived the sword. That secret technique can't even compare to the flying sword technique. It simply can't be considered a great technique. Xiaohua said with a smile. Do you also want to learn the flying sword technique? Yes, Xiang Zhili's eyes were filled with longing. His small head nodded like a chick pecking at rice. And if you want to learn it, you have to establish a solid foundation for your qi refining. First, you have to master the basic mental cultivation method. Moreover, the flying sword technique isn't a great technique. If you want to learn it, foster father can naturally teach it to you. Also, regarding the matter of the great divine ability, you must not tell anyone about it. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian.com to vote for it. Chapter 2184. Yes, the boy understands. Xiang Zhili said seriously. This is Godfather's secret. The boy will swear a heart oath to never tell anyone else. Godfather, you can teach me now, right? Xiaohua snorted, his face cold. Do you think a heart oath can be made so casually? I'm telling you this because I'm not afraid of you telling others. Moreover, this is just a small trick. Even if it's called a secret technique, it can't compare to real cultivation. Why don't you think about how to cultivate? When your cultivation is high enough, I'll teach you a great divine ability. Why are you thinking about these small tricks? Xiang Zhili saw that Xiaohua was angry and hurriedly bowed. Godfather, please calm down. The boy knows he was wrong. The boy won't dare to think about anything else in the future. Damn. Why am I the same as master? Xiaohua complained in his heart, but he still said with a cold face. Also, it's good to be a little smart, but you can't rely on it. If you plot against your family, they won't mind. But if it's someone else, there might be some bad karma. Being an upright person and cultivating clearly is the way to reach the heavens. Yes, the boy understands. Xiang Zhili hurriedly said. And Xiaohua nodded, his expression gentle. After thinking for a while he said, however, if you really meet an enemy, you don't have to be too rigid. What's sinister? What can you win? Who cares? What can you win? Who cares? It's best if you can win and live. Hee, the boy understands. Xiang Zhili smiled. The beginning was the same as what father said, but in the end he's better than father. And that's enough. Lear, go and rest. Xiaohua said. Your cultivation is still shallow, and you're still too young. Godfather can't think of any good secret techniques to teach you for the time being. When you're older and Godfather's cultivation has some progress, it won't be too late to teach you then. Yes, the boy understands. Xiang Zhili smiled and said, what I've learned now is already tiring enough for me. Let's wait until I reach the foundation establishment stage. At that time, foster father must guide me in my cultivation. All right. Xiaohua readily agreed. He knew quite a number of magic arts, many of which were secret arts. But thinking about it, in the future, Lei Mengzhenren would personally guide Xiang Zhili in his cultivation. These things might even affect Xiang Zhili's cultivation. Therefore, Xiaohua really didn't know what to give him. Since Xiang Zhili was still young, he had plenty of time to think about it. After Xiang Zhili carefully withdrew, Xiaohua clapped his hands and took out Shue's 2 jade slips. One was pink, and the other was just given to him by Xiang Yang. The restriction on the pink jade slip was still there. It was exactly as Shue had said. As long as she didn't die, the jade slip couldn't be opened. What the hell is in there? Xiaohua was extremely bewildered. If it was about foundation building, Shue should have removed the restriction on the pink jade slip at that time, and let him examine it. However, Shue didn't seem to have thought about this jade slip at all. However, when they first arrived at Kuehesi, Shue took the jade slip from him. She seemed to have written something and returned it to him. Forget it. There will always be a time when the truth comes to light. Let's wait. Maybe the day of dual cultivation will also be the day when the mystery of this pink jade slip will be revealed. Xiaohua thought of the pink jade slip and his heart swayed. With a smile on his face, he carefully put the pink jade slip into his space. When Xiaohua immersed his divine sense into the other jade slip, a strange expression unconsciously appeared on his face. Yes, the jade slip clearly stated that after Xiaohua flew away, Shue actually went in the direction of Reverend Jingru, until she saw Reverend Jingru's face with her own eyes. Then, Shue returned to Sunset Island. Although Kuaheng was somewhat surprised, he still received Shue as a distinguished guest. However, Shue was burning with anxiety and didn't stop at all. Accompanied by Kua Riming and Kua Qiao, she left Kuehesi. According to Xiaohua's plan, Zhongling Mountain Village should send more people to escort Shue. However, Shue didn't go to Zhongling Mountain Village at all. Instead, she found a teleportation formation nearby, and arrived at Inkcloud Black Forest. After passing through Inkcloud Black Forest, she arrived at Haoming City. Then Kua Qiao and Kua Riming returned to Kuehesi. Yuchen of Haoming City sent city guards to escort Shue all the way back to Imperial Thunder Sect. When Shue arrived at Imperial Thunder Sect, she immediately went to Myriad Thunder Valley, and told Xiaohua about the danger he was in. She also described the appearance of the nascent soul cultivator clearly. Xiaohua naturally heard about the things that happened after that from Xiang Yang and the others. However, Xiaohua was slightly puzzled by the latter part of the story. Husband, I know that you will definitely be fine. However, I can't help but feel anxious and worried. I know that doing these things won't help your return at all, but I still have to do it. It seems that if I don't do these things, my heart won't be at ease. Only when I can do some small things for you, even if it's something that is completely useless, can I feel that I have some value by your side. Husband, when you saw the jade slip, I was already in seclusion. Master thinks very highly of me. Naturally, I have already given all the credit for my foundation building to you. Presumably, when you and I dual cultivate in the future, Master will consider it carefully. Husband. I'm afraid you will be disappointed again, right? I can't serve you anymore. But don't worry, I will come out of seclusion very soon. When you and I meet again, it will be the time when you and I combine. I will definitely let you know that what Fairy Hongxia can do, I can also do. I can do it. Even better than her. This silly child. Xiao Hua saw that Xue Xue actually took the risk to check Daoist Jingyu's appearance, and his heart ached. If Daoist Jingyu wasn't in a hurry to kill him, she might really have captured Xue Xue. Even thinking about how Daoist Jingyu didn't hesitate to kill many low-level cultivators along the way to cover her tracks, Xiao Hua actually felt some lingering fear. However, how does Xue Xue know that I will definitely be fine? Xiao Hua muttered to himself again. It seemed that Xue Xue had also vaguely said this when they were separated from each other in Fenghe High. Could it be that she also has the ability to predict the future? Not to mention Xiao Hua's contemplation, Xiang Yang, who had received Xiao Hua's request, flew to Cui Hongshan's immortal cave. After his figure landed, he was rather hesitant. At this moment, Cui Hongshan, who was inside the immortal cave, sensed movement and swept out his divine sense. Seeing that it was Xiang Yang, he immediately flew out of the immortal cave and bowed. Eldest senior brother, I don't know why you are looking for me? This Xiang Yang was still embarrassed to speak. He, eldest senior brother, please come inside the immortal cave and talk. Cui Hongshan smiled and invited Xiang Yang into the immortal cave. Chapter 2185. After pouring the spiritual tea for Xiang Yang said with a smile, Junior brother Cui, your cave is still short of people. After you marry Qiming, you should accept a disciple. Senior brother is right, Cui Hongshan said with a smile. However, I'm used to being frugal and don't like to take any disciple. If I find a good for nothing, it won't be enough for me to worry about. And if I want to accept a disciple, I'm afraid it has to be at the late stage of foundation establishment, right? Then after dual cultivation, you can have a child and train him yourself. Xiang Yang knew he was wrong and quickly corrected himself. Alas, how can it be that easy? Cui Hongshan shook his head and said, First, not all children are as smart as Li Er. Who knows what will happen if we have another child in the myriad Thunder Valley? Second, this matter still depends on Qiming. Senior brother, didn't you see Master? Shu Master's matter is not something we can discuss. Xiang Yang hurriedly stopped him. Let's not talk about this. Cui Hongshan said with a smile. I don't know why senior brother is looking for me. Actually, I have something to ask of you, junior brother. Xiang Yang said as he stood up and bowed respectfully. Don't. Cui Hongshan was shocked and hurriedly raised his hand. Senior brother, what are you doing? If you have something to ask, just say it. As long as I can do it, I will definitely do it. Well, since it's like this, I won't be polite. Xiang Yang sat down and set up a mute restriction. He hesitated for a moment and said, Junior brother Cui, do you still have the Thunder Beast's inner core? Yes. Cui Hongshan said curiously. I still don't dare to use it, however. Cui Hongshan's face changed immediately. He seemed to think of something and said coldly, What? Senior brother, are you here to ask for it on behalf of Xiao Hua? Xiang Yang was very embarrassed and sighed. Junior brother Cui must know that this Thunder Beast's inner core was obtained by Xiao Hua. He's senior brother, no need to say it. Cui Hongshan waved his hand and said, Little brother has already heard these words from eldest senior apprentice brother. Little brother also understands in his heart that these words were fabricated by eldest senior apprentice brother, because he wanted to change Xiao Hua's impression in front of master. When this guy came back and heard that his little brother had taken the lightning beast's inner core, he was not convinced. Or perhaps he needed the Thunder Beast's inner core right now, which was why he encouraged eldest senior brother to come here and ask for it. Eldest senior brother, he saw that you were kind, so he came to deceive you. Why did you let him use you like a flying sword? Besides, this inner core was given to me by master. If he wants it, he can ask master for it. As long as master says so, I will definitely give it to him. Ahem. Xiang Yang's face was slightly red. He coughed twice and said, Actually, that's what I thought too. However, there's already a gap between you and him, and he just built his foundation. If he directly asks master for it, do you think master will give it to him? Why would I give it to him? With his aptitude and the fact that he just entered Foundation establishment, he dares to covet the Thunder Beast's inner core? Cui Hongshan said disdainfully. So Xiangyang said embarrassedly. He had no choice but to ask me for help. Eldest senior brother. You're too easy to talk to. Cui Hongshan looked at Xiangyang snappily. You're such a nice guy. If he wants it, then let him beg me himself. Junior brother Cui. Xiangyang knew that Xiaohua would never come to beg Cui Hongshan. He smiled apologetically and said, Do you think he will come? He wants to benefit himself, but he doesn't want to beg others. How can there be such a good thing in this world? Cui Hongshan was so angry that he laughed. Does he think I'm so easy to bully? This Thunder Beast's inner core is related to my Golden Core's hope. Hee. Xiangyang chuckled again and said, Xiaohua also knows that this is related to your cultivation, so he is embarrassed to speak. Isn't it because Li wants to be his adoptive father? Just now he brought it up in elder brother's immortal's cave. Since he has spoken, how can elder brother not give him face? However, he still said that he will definitely return junior brother Cui's favor, and he will definitely make junior brother Cui satisfied. Teach him? Cui Hongshan sneered. I don't know where he got it from last time at this point. He suddenly realized that he had made a vow and immediately shut his mouth. Little brother doesn't believe that he has anything good for little brother. I'm afraid that once this Thunder Beast's inner core is sold, it will be like throwing a meat bun at a dog. Seeing that Cui Hongshan didn't relent, Xiangyang said again, however, junior brother Xiao doesn't intend to take it all. He said clearly that junior brother Cui only needs to leave 10% of the entire inner core. He still has the nerve. I have 40% of this Thunder Beast's inner core, and he actually dares to ask for 30%? Cui Hongshan was furious. Doesn't he know? I'm going to use this Thunder Beast's inner core as a betrothal gift. If there's no such thing, what does my 10,000 Thunder Valley have that the converted Thunder Palace would like? Cough cough, junior brother Cui, isn't there still 3 years? No one can guarantee that there won't be any good things in these 3 years. Xiangyang said step by step, and Cui Hongshan was somewhat moved. If he directly asked for 40%, Cui Hongshan would never give it to him. Now that he left him 10%, it could be considered a trick. Eldest senior brother, this is related to junior brother's future happiness. Cui Hongshan was somewhat helpless. Junior brother knows that eldest senior brother and Xiaohua have deep feelings for each other, but has eldest senior brother thought about junior brother? Xiangyang still didn't get angry and explained. Senior brother also thought about it. These days I've been preparing, but there are still 3 years, so there's no need to be too anxious. On the other hand, junior brother Xiao. Okay, eldest senior brother, Xiaohua's matter is a matter, but junior brother's matter isn't a matter. Cui Hongshan stood up and said, Junior brother still has a technique to comprehend, so I won't keep eldest senior brother any longer. Junior brother Cui Xiangyang was anxious, and said with a bow, You and Xiaohua already have a grudge. This is a good opportunity for you two to eliminate the grudge. Senior brother really doesn't want to see 2 disciples of my 10,000 Thunder Valley. And if it doesn't work, senior brother will kneel in front of you. Eldest senior brother. Cui Hongshan didn't dare to let Xiangyang kneel. He immediately pulled him inside. Eldest senior brother should go back first. Let junior brother think about it again. Sigh okay. Xiangyang sighed, looking very old. He waved his hand and said, I hope junior brother Cui can think about it carefully and understand senior brother a little. After saying that, he removed the mute restriction and walked away. Seeing Xiangyang return, Xiaohua opened his eyes and asked indifferently, How was it? Eldest senior brother, that guy didn't want to take out the Thunder Beast's inner core, right? Of course not, Xiangyang said with a smile. Junior brother Cui knew that junior brother Xiao wanted to use it, so he was very happy. However, he was a little hesitant because this inner core was his betrothal gift, so he wanted to think about it again. Eldest senior brother, don't say any more. How could junior brother not know what kind of character that guy is? Xiaohua sneered. Since he didn't want to give it, then don't blame junior brother. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for it. Chapter 2186. When Xiangyang heard this, he jumped in fright and hurriedly stopped Xiaohua. Junior brother Xiao, what are you doing? No matter what, he's still your fellow disciple. Don't do anything to hurt him. Xiangyang knew that Xiaohua dealing with Cui Hongshan was as easy as lifting a finger. Even Xiangyang doubted whether his master could be Xiaohua's opponent. How could I? Xiaohua patted Xiangyang's shoulder and smiled. How could I kill the innocent? At this moment, Yan Qinglian quickly walked in with a smile on her face. Haha, how was it, eldest senior sister-in-law? Did master's wife succeed? Xiaohua smiled. He was about to walk out when he stopped. Yan Qinglian's face was full of smiles and even a little red. She said, Junior brother's words are really useful. Master originally didn't want to give it to you. But master's wife just said a few words and master immediately obediently gave it to me. Xiangyang was confused and asked, what's going on? Hee, isn't it because junior brother wants master's thunder beast inner core? Yan Qinglian tossed her hand and took out a jade box with a talisman on it. She handed it to Xiaohua. This is 20% of the thunder beast inner core. Junior brother, keep it. Good boy, junior brother, what are you doing? Xiangyang was even more stunned. You already got 20% from master. Why do you still want 30%? Junior brother naturally has a use for it. Xiaohua took the jade box and put it into his space without even looking. Oh right, what did master's wife say? Master just obediently gave it to you? Xiangyang wanted to stop Xiaohua and deliberately asked. Hee, it's very simple. Xiaohua smiled. Master's wife only needed to say, Xiangyang used the Thunder Beast inner core to get Xiangjili's gift. You only need 10% of the Thunder Beast inner core to step into the Golden Core stage. Then what are you keeping the other 20% for? Ah? Can it be like that? Xiangyang was stunned and then immediately understood. So master had no choice but to give the other 20% to master's wife for safekeeping. So you got it? Hee, that's right. Xiaohua smiled and was about to leave again. How could Xiangyang let him harm Cui Hongshan? He hurriedly said, Junior brother Xiao, let's wait. Yan Qinglian also knew what was going on and was very anxious. At this moment Xiangjili ran out and shouted, Father, mother, what happened? Xiangyang was curious. He was about to scold Xiangjili when he noticed the jade box in Xiangjili's hand. Just now, the boy was playing outside the cave when a message talisman suddenly flew in. I don't know who sent it, so the boy followed the instructions on the message talisman and walked into the thicket in the Myriad Thunder Valley. He found a jade box inside. Boy doesn't have enough magic power to open this talisman. Xiangjili's little face was filled with excitement as he held up the jade box. Oh, Xiangyang was taken aback. He took the jade box, but when he saw the familiar talisman on the box, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. He passed the box to Xiaohua. This is for you. Oh. Xiaohua was really surprised. Who threw it? Father, how did you know it was foster father? Xiangjili was very curious and asked, when did foster father throw this jade box outside? Xiaohua was slightly embarrassed. He received the jade box and said, foster father accidentally threw it. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome, foster father. Xiangjili skipped out of the cave again. Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian looked at each other. Yan Qinglian said in a low voice, little junior brother, you see, he doesn't seem to be as bad as you think, right? Hee, this was originally little brother's. Xiaohua curled his lips. He clapped his hands and took out 3 more jade boxes. He passed them to Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian respectively and said, little brother doesn't owe anyone anything. One of these is senior sister's, one is master's wife's, and the last one can be the betrothal gift. Xiangyang slapped his forehead and came to a realization. He sighed and said, AI little junior brother, so you didn't use this lightning core. Since that's the case, why didn't you take it out earlier? This female lightning beast's inner core is naturally suitable for female cultivators to consume. Little brother just said that it was naturally useless. I just wanted to see what other people thought. Xiaohua said without hesitation. If he didn't take it out, he wouldn't even get 10%. Why? Xiangyang shook his head. He took the jade box and turned around to leave. What could Yin Qinglian say? She also shook her head slightly. She felt helpless for Xiaohua and Cui Hongshan's quarrel. However, Cui Hongshan took a step back. Xiaohua, who seemed weak but was actually incomparably strong, finally understood a little. What? Xiaohua said coldly. Isn't it because you can't refuse? That's why you threw it away. Would it kill you to generously give it to me? Is a disciple of a cultivation family so arrogant? Don't think that just because you took the lightning beast's inner core, I will think highly of you. This belongs to this young master to begin with. Immediately, Xiaohua sat cross-legged on the jade chair in the cave, and quietly adjusted his breathing. However, Xiaohua's simple breathing adjustment couldn't affect the spirit energy that was scattered in his meridians and body. He also couldn't refine the earth crystal Yao milk in his meridians. After thinking for a moment, he realized that unless his dragon transformation art and heavenly man-body enhancement technique made further progress, there would be no chance. Otherwise, his body and meridians would really collapse. And it seems, I have to go into seclusion for a while. Xiaohua thought for a long time and made a decision. Before going into seclusion, I have to open a cave first. But do I really have to leave my life tablet in Zhenlei Palace? Xiaohua knew that there was something wrong with his blood. He really didn't want to leave anything behind in Zhenlei Palace that could be used against him. However, the next day, when Xiangyang brought Xiaohua to Zhenlei Palace, Xiaohua found out from Xiangyang that only Foundation Establishment disciples who finished making their life tablet and left it in Zhenlei Palace's Jade Archive Hall could get a command tablet from the master in charge of the Jade Archive Hall. Only Foundation Establishment disciples could use the command tablet to get a spirit-seeking mouse and open a cave in the territory of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Forget it. Xiaohua shook his head helplessly when he thought about how the Imperial Thunder Sect had so many rules. Naturally, they were afraid that some disciples wouldn't follow the rules. Xiaohua came to Jade Archive Hall when he first entered the Imperial Thunder Sect. At that time, it was also led by Xiangyang, but this time it was different from the previous time. The people who were laughing at Xiangyang's 100 years of foundation building were no longer laughing. Instead, they were replaced with respect. Some of the Foundation Establishment middle-stage martial brothers even pulled Xiangyang to ask him how to teach their children. Looking at the eager faces of these martial brothers, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. Not only was he moved by the change in their attitudes, but he was also moved by their sacrifice for their children. Of course, many disciples also recognized Xiaohua. They also knew that although Xiaohua didn't build his foundation in 100 years, it took him a long time to build his foundation. Although there was some contempt on their faces, their words were much better than the first time. There were also more words of encouragement. There were even a few martial brothers who took out early-stage Foundation Establishment medicinal pills and gave them to Xiaohua. Xiangyang stole a glance at Xiaohua. He was still afraid that Xiaohua would get angry, but Xiaohua was calm. He reached out his hand to accept them and thank them. There was nothing unnatural about it, which made Xiangyang very confused. When there was no one around, Xiangyang asked, "Little martial brother, these medicinal pills, do you still need them? There's no reason for you to give them a favor." TCH, Xiaohua patted his storage bag and curled his lips. What's there to give them a favor? Aren't they a little too ungrateful? If you don't take the medicinal pills that they sent to you, the heavens will be angry. In the future, no one will give you any. Besides, even if I don't use them, they're still Li right? Leave them for him. Ha ha ha. Xiangyang laughed and patted his stingy little martial brother. Not long after, Xiaohua and the others arrived at Jade Archive Hall. Sure enough, there were 2 or 3 12th-layer aura refining disciples standing in front of Jade Archive Hall. They were on duty. Xiaohua didn't use his divine sense, but he could clearly see that the one who was berating the other 2 was Zhen Liang, whom he taught with his fists in the past. Hearing footsteps, Zhen Liang turned his head while cursing. I'll be honest with you. It's your fortune that senior martial brother called you to be on duty. Zhen Liang immediately shut up, because he saw Xiaohua. He had been on duty in Jade Archive Hall for such a long time. And the only one who came out to beat him was Xiaohua. How could he forget? At this time he saw that Xiangyang, who had become very famous in recent years, had unexpectedly brought Xiaohua, who was at Foundation establishment, over. Naturally, his face was very unsightly. Junior greets Martial Uncle Xiangyang. Junior greets Xiao. Martial Uncle Xiao. When Zhen Liang called Xiangyang, it was smooth, but when he called Xiaohua, it was really hard for him to say it out loud. Unfortunately, this was the rule of cultivation sections. Although you have advanced 100 li, but the younger generation is catching up with you. You have no choice but to lower your head and call them respectfully. Isn't this also a kind of spur? Xiaohua had always been a person who held grudges and was very narrow-minded. Although his face was all smiles, his mouth had already said, "Oh, so it's Martial Nephew General previously. I had to trouble Martial Nephew Gen when I was registering for the Imperial Thunder Sect. Now that I've reached Foundation establishment, my natal spirit tablet is still Martial Nephew General. I've really troubled you. I'm really sorry." "Haha, it's no matter, no matter." Zhen Liang's face was very awkward, and even his face was red and hot. "Oh, that's right. I remember that there's also someone called Zhen Ming. Where did he go?" Xiaohua looked around, pretending to be looking for him. "Why don't I see him?" Martial Uncle Xiao, Martial Uncle Zhen Ming has also reached Foundation establishment. He has already been transferred to another place. A trace of resentment appeared on Zhen Liang's face, as if there was some hidden story. Xiaohua originally wanted to say something, but Xiangyang stopped him and said with a smile, "Martial Nephew Zhen, my junior martial brother has also reached Foundation establishment. I'll have to trouble Martial Nephew Zhen to invite senior martial brother Zhen over." Ugh! Seeing Xiangyang's bearing, Xiaohua suddenly felt that he was very small. The small in his heart was forced out and revealed without a doubt. Of course, although Zhen Liang hadn't reached Foundation establishment, and although he did make some small moves against him that day, he had still beaten him up that day. It could be said that they were even. But now he was using Zhen Liang's shortcomings to ridicule him. It seemed it was the same as when he hadn't reached Foundation establishment yet. He didn't seem to be much more noble than others. Chapter 2187. Immediately, Xiaohua's forehead was covered in sweat. It was a kind of shame that came from the bottom of his heart. "Thank you, Martial Nephew Zhen Liang." Xiaohua cupped his hands and said with a smile. Zhen Liang was stunned and almost took half a step back. He was afraid that Xiaohua would punch him again. However, Xiaohua smiled and looked at Zhen Liang with a pleasant expression. He had the demeanor of a martial uncle. Xiangyang was also slightly stunned. Soon after, he smiled and knew that Xiaohua had understood that he was wrong. "Okay, Martial Uncle Xiao and Martial Uncle Xiang, please wait for a moment." Zhen Liang also understood and cupped his hands. At this time, he was very willing to call Xiaohua Martial Uncle Xiao. Not long after, Deacon Zhen Zhen came. When he saw Xiaohua, a trace of understanding appeared on his face. He pointed at Xiaohua and said with a smile, "Xiaohua, you finally reached the Foundation establishment stage? It really wasn't easy. Your master is going to be happy now." "Hehe, Martial Uncle Zhen is joking," Xiaohua said respectfully. "Even if I reach the gold core stage, my master won't be too happy." "Haha, this is the trouble of being a master," Zhen Zhen said with a smile. "Your disciple will always be a child who can't grow up. Even if you are a nascent soul stage cultivator, you still want to see if you can split your spirit earlier." "Yes," Xiaohua nodded. Then Zhen Zhen opened the door of the Jade Archive Hall and said with a smile, "I still have some things to do with the Palace Master, so I won't stay here to accompany you." Then he said to Zhen Liang, "Zhen Liang, accompany the two martial uncles and watch them refine their life spirit tablets. Then give them the tablets." After saying that, he threw a tablet to Zhen Liang. Then he cupped his hands at Xiaohua and Xiangyang and walked away. "Hehe, martial uncles, please." Zhen Liang didn't find it strange. He smiled and raised his hand, indicating for Xiaohua and Xiangyang to enter. When Xiaohua arrived at the place where he placed the jade tablet, he sensed it. Even the yellow restriction couldn't block it. After Zhen Liang removed the yellow restriction, he clapped his hands and took out a jade slip, handing it over to Xiaohua. "Martial Uncle Xiao, This is the method to make a life spirit tablet. Please take a look. As for Xiangyang, he pointed at a cyan jade slip next to Xiaohua and said with a smile, "That's junior brother Chui's life tablet. Now all of the adult disciples of my myriad Thunder Valley have reached the foundation establishment stage." His tone was somewhat weathered. Xiaohua didn't say much. He immersed his spirit into the jade slip and understood. However, after a while, Xiaohua's face revealed a difficult expression. He smiled apologetically and said, "Junior nephew Zhen, this refining method is a little difficult. I'm afraid my magic power is not enough. I wonder." Zhenliang said understandingly. "Disciple understands. I'm sure Martial Uncle Xiang accompanied me here for this reason. However, only I can refine this natal spirit tablet. Martial Uncle can't be lazy, you know?" As he spoke, Zhenliang looked at another part of the Jade Archive Hall and shook his head, saying, "The restriction over at Xuanlei Palace is a little loose. It's all because these newcomers don't know the rules. Martial uncles, please refine it. Disciple will go over there and take a look." Seeing Zhenliang tactfully leave, Xiaohua smiled. Really, he didn't expect that just one sentence from him would cause Zhenliang to change so much. Alas, what a pity. If this guy had understood earlier and had such a temperament, perhaps even reaching the foundation establishment stage wouldn't be a big deal? As Xiaohua thought about it, he slightly formed a seal in his hand, and the surrounding spirit energy surged. As Xiaohua's seal set off a gust of wind, there was a soft kacha sound, and a layer of golden brilliance appeared on the jade token. Xiaohua's life spirit tablet was refined by him in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, Xiangyang sucked in a breath of cold air, sweat. It seems that every time Xiaohua reveals some of his strength, the onlookers are all like this. It wasn't only because of the golden light on the jade slip, but also because Xiaohua had already revealed the golden light the first time. What shocked him was Xiaohua's refining technique. It was very clear that Xiangyang himself had also come here in the past because of helplessness. Even Cui Hongshan had come here with Xiangyang. Xiangyang knew how difficult it was to refine this natal spirit tablet. He himself, under helplessness's guidance, spent a lot of effort, and barely succeeded in refining it. Cui Hongshan wasn't that strong. Xiangyang had guided him for half a day, but he also barely succeeded. This was also the reason why Zhen didn't wait here. It was also the reason why Zhenliang left. It was very embarrassing for a disciple who had just reached the foundation establishment stage. But what about Xiaohua? It was as easy as lifting a finger, Previously, Xiangyang really thought that what Xiaohua said was true, but he didn't expect him to succeed with just a lift of his hand. Xiangyang glanced at Zhenliang and hurriedly said, "Junior brother, refining this natal spirit tablet is very difficult. Back then it took me half a day to refine it. My junior brother Cui from the 10,000 Thunder Valley also took half a day. Don't worry, slowly refine it." Xiaohua was stunned. He bitterly smiled and thought, "Eldest senior brother, you should have said so earlier." That's right, for Xiaohua, who was proficient in refining the world, this was really too easy. He only wanted to hide the golden light, and didn't care about anything else. Fortunately, the golden light on the natal spirit tablet had already gradually disappeared, and it actually turned into a plain jade slip. It was very simple, very low-key, and very secretive, just like Xiaohua. Thus, Xiaohua put on an act for almost half a day, but Zhenliang really didn't come over. Xiaohua called out, "Martial nephew Zhen, I've finally finished. Please come over and take a look." Martial Uncle Xiao is really amazing. Zhenliang heard him and came over with a smile. Usually a disciple who just entered the foundation establishment realm would definitely not be able to refine it in half a day. Martial Uncle Xiao actually succeeded in less than half a day. All these years of suffering weren't in vain. Then Zhenliang took the natal spirit tablet and took out a fist-sized jade ball. He formed a seal and hit it. The jade ball gradually turned into a fog. Then, Zhenliang threw Xiaohua's natal spirit tablet into it. A golden light flashed inside, illuminating the entire fog. Xiaohua was a little surprised. He didn't think that the jade ball would still reveal a strange golden light. Of course, Zhen Liang's face also showed a little surprise. Xiaohua secretly said in his heart, "Not good. It's a little strange?" Sure enough, Zhen Liang frowned and said, "There's something wrong with Martial Uncle Zhao's natal spirit tablet. There should be a vague human figure in this fog." Xiaohua rolled his eyes and asked, "Is it like this for all successful natal spirit tablets? Must it have a human figure? Or is there something else?" "That's not necessarily true." Zhen Liang raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Natal spirit tablets are made by using the traces of a cultivator's primordial spirit in their blood. And every cultivator's primordial spirit is different. Ordinary cultivators are all in human form, but there are also some strange ones. Haha, this disciple has also heard of this before. However, this is the first time that Martial Uncle Xiao can't see it at all." Chapter 2188. Then is this life spirit tablet considered a success? Xiangyang was more concerned about this. Of course. Zhen Liang smiled apologetically. If it wasn't, there wouldn't be any light at all. It wouldn't even be able to be placed into this jade ball. Oh, that's good. Xiangyang heaved a sigh of relief. Zhen Liang took out Xiaohua's life spirit tablet and carefully placed it inside the restriction. After activating the restriction, he smiled and said, "Martial Uncle Zhao's life spirit tablet has been completed. This is Martial Uncle Zhao's token. You can use this token to go to the Spiritual Beast Hall of the Thunder Palace to receive a spirit-seeking mouse and establish a residence within the Thunder Palace. Disciple congratulates Martial Uncle Xiao." "Haha, congratulations to you too." Xiaohua clapped his hands and took out a few pills for Zhen Liang. "As long as Martial Nephew Zhen puts in the effort, you can also build your foundation. You don't have to be so polite." Zhen Liang stretched out his hand and pushed it over. However, when he saw the pills in Xiaohua's hand, he was stunned and said in shock, "Sway. Sway pill?" The hand that was pushing out froze there. "Haha, I just happened to come across this item when I was out training." Xiaohua pushed it slightly and placed the pills in his hand. He explained, "Since I have already built my foundation, I don't need this item anymore. Martial Nephew Zhen, take it. If someone uses it, it's called a pill. If no one uses it, it's nothing." "Yes." Zhen Liang thought for a moment and accepted it with a smile. He said, "Disciple thanks Martial Uncle Xiao for your kindness. If it was any other pill, disciple wouldn't dare to accept it." Xiaohua nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly heard a gotcha sound from the distance of the Jade Archive Hall. Shortly after, he took out a light purple restriction that emitted a strong brilliance, illuminating the entire Jade Archive Hall. "Oh no, I don't know which senior from the Thunder Palace was killed." Zhen Liang was shocked. He didn't dare to say anything more to Xiaohua and hurriedly flew over. At this moment, two disciples guarding outside the Jade Archive Hall also rushed in. When Zhen Liang opened the restriction, he saw a pink spirit tablet with a long crack on it. Moreover, the position of the token wasn't low. "Quick, inform Martial Uncle Zhen." Zhen Liang ordered the disciples who had rushed over. "A Golden Core Realm Master from Converging Thunder Palace has died." Yes. That disciple didn't dare to be negligent and left after receiving the order. On the other hand, Zhen Liang said apologetically, "Martial Uncle Xiao, this disciple originally wanted to ask Martial Uncle for some advice on foundation establishment. You see, there's another urgent matter in the sect. Please forgive me." "Haha, this Xiao's matter is already done. If there is a chance in the future, Martial Nephew Zhen can come to my 10,000 Thunder Valley." Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, "I will take my leave now." Then, Zhen Liang respectfully sent the two of them out. The situation was completely different from the first time they had come. However, when Xiaohua and Xiangyang walked far away, Zhen Liang couldn't help but look at the Thunder Palace's restrictions. His eyes were somewhat strange. Not to mention Zhen Liang suppressing the astonishment in his heart, and not to mention the chaos in the Jade Archive Hall due to the Jindan Cultivator's life tablet breaking. Xiaohua and Xiangyang returned to the Myriad Thunder Valley from the deafening Thunder Palace. Looking at the lazy, big, fat spirit-seeking mouse with dull eyes lying on his hand, Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Eldest senior brother, is this a spirit-seeking mouse?" Xiaohua held back for a long time and finally couldn't help but complain. Isn't this just a spirit-seeking mouse? Pfft. Xiangyang also laughed and pointed at Xiaohua saying, Little junior brother, have you seen a spirit-seeking mouse before? If you haven't, don't show any fear. This spirit-seeking mouse is born with a big body. It doesn't have any abilities, so it doesn't need to fight or defend against enemies. It only needs to find places with sufficient spirit qi and some spirit veins. What do you want it to look like? But this appearance is really throwing the spirit-seeking mouse's mouse. Xiaohua didn't say whether he had seen a spirit-seeking mouse before and only covered his mouth as he laughed. This is already not bad. My 10,000 Thunder Valley's silent thunder is quite powerful. Ordinary spirit-seeking mice are useless. This spirit-seeking mouse was used by junior brother Cui last time. Xiangyang also looked at the fat spirit-seeking mouse and laughed. But after saying that, Xiangyang's face was a little embarrassed. Sure enough, Xiaohua's face was not too happy as he muttered. So it's something that someone else left behind. How? How can you say that? Xiangyang blinked his eyes and was somewhat in disbelief. Then he looked left and right and said, The rest of the matter is simple. Junior brother Xiao knows that once you release the spirit-seeking mouse, it will naturally find a place with abundant spirit qi. You only need to record the location on the jade slip and place it into the spirit-seeking mouse's mouth. It will then return to the deafening Thunder Palace on its own. After a few days, a disciple will bring a cave-opening puppet over to help you open the cave. As for the size of the cave, you can decide for yourself. I have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Obviously, Xiangyang was afraid that he would say something wrong and make Xiaohua unhappy, so he waved his hand and flew off into the distance. TCH, what spirit-seeking mouse? It's simply a spirit-seeking cat. Xiaohua waited until Xiangyang had flown far away before he waved his hand, and little silver flew out of the space. TCH, the spirit-seeking mouse in Xiaohua's heart suddenly opened its eyes, and the fur on its body stood on end. Its two small eyes widened as it stared straight at Little Silver, who was several times smaller than it. Little Silver flew in the air and looked left and right in bewilderment, as if it was very unhappy that Xiaohua had taken it out. Hearing the spirit-seeking mouse's TCH, it turned its head slightly and didn't care. It only stretched out its two small front paws and put them next to its mouth with a pu sound, which sounded like a snort. The spirit-seeking mouse immediately jumped down from Xiaohua's hand and obediently lay down in the air. Its whole body was trembling, and its puffed-up fur immediately fell down smoothly. With a whoosh, Little Silver flew to Xiaohua's hand, which was precisely where the spirit-seeking mouse had been in a daze just now. Its small tail curled around Xiaohua's little finger with great familiarity, before it obediently crouched down. Don't lie down. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hurry up and find me where the spiritual energy is. Unfortunately, Little Silver didn't pay attention to him. It didn't understand what Xiaohua was saying at all. Xiaohua looked at the space again. Well, Little Yellow was sleeping again, so it probably couldn't hear what he was saying. Go. Xiaohua waved his big sleeve and threw the spirit-seeking mouse forward, saying, Go find a cave for this young master. It was a pity that the spirit-seeking mouse didn't listen to him at all this time. It still lay obediently in the air, not daring to move at all. Damn it. Xiaohua smiled. He naturally knew what was going on. He had no choice but to put Little Silver into the space and throw the spirit-seeking mouse out again. When the spirit-seeking mouse suddenly saw Little Silver disappear, it was still surprised. It actually flew in the air for a moment before shaking its fur and looking high and mighty again. Fuck, isn't this the legendary? When the tiger is absent, the monkey becomes the overlord. Xiaohua smiled again, but before he could smile, the meridians in his body trembled again. Then his whole body shook involuntarily, as if he was having a spasm, and an earthy yellow color flashed across his face again. I have to hurry and think of a way. Xiaohua knew that the accumulated spiritual energy of heaven and earth in his meridians and body was restless again. Fortunately, the spirit-seeking mouse, which hadn't been forced by Little Silver, could still be considered loyal to its duty. It found a cave for Xiaohua in a secluded place in 10,000 Thunder Valley. Xiaohua's divine sense swept out. It wasn't close to helpless Xiangyang and Cui Hongshan's cave residences. He unconsciously nodded, carved the location into the spirit-seeking mouse's mouth, and let it go back. After that, Xiaohua didn't go far. He sat cross-legged in the cave residence and closed his eyes to rest. After a moment, Xiaohua took out the executioner dream. Looking at the flying sword that could do as it pleased and seemed omnipotent, just like him dancing in the air, Xiaohua thought to himself. The flying sword of a sword cultivator is indeed different from the flying swords of a Dao sect. This executioner dream now seems to be able to connect with the gods, and its flying speed is far greater than before. Separate, Xiaohua silently chanted, and 32 swift and fierce sword lights instantly flew out, filling the space around Xiaohua. The most important thing is that among these 32 flying swords, only one is the main sword. The other 31 are all secondary swords, and the main sword is the eye of the array. It's quite the Tao of dark magic array. It also won't affect the cultivation of sword rendition of the world. Xiaohua thought with satisfaction. Since the sword heart energy seed technique is successful, I should also try to separate my primordial spirit. There are many things that I need to cultivate. A single primordial spirit. I'm afraid that I won't be able to cultivate it to the end of my lifespan. The art of splitting one's primordial spirit could only be completed after opening up the cave and going into seclusion. Xiaohua then kept Zhu Meng away and took out the jade scroll with the words of the devil world and the refining method of the devil world that he had obtained from Qiao Air. Taking advantage of this free time, he carefully comprehended it. This comprehension lasted for 3 days, and Xiaohua's face gradually showed a serious expression. The devil world's refining technique was already incomplete, and he couldn't completely understand it. However, from what Xiaohua could figure out, it made his heart beat wildly, because what was recorded was a blood refining technique. It was also the most common refining technique in the devil world. Isn't this a refining technique that isn't in the 5 elements? Xiaohua somewhat understood. It's a pity that the refining technique isn't complete. There's only a small part at the front, the blood refining technique that fuses the devil world's materials. However, when Xiaohua put the jade slip into the space and closed his eyes to ponder, he somewhat understood. This blood refining technique was suitable for him now. He wanted to refine the great wisdom sword into a 5 elements wishful heaven staff. Didn't he need to fuse these materials together? Blood refining didn't belong to the 5 elements refining technique, and it wouldn't affect his future refining. However, the devil hammer, although it isn't controlled by divine sense, but it's still an item from the devil world. I don't know if it belongs to the 5 elements. Xiaohua was a little hesitant, and then he thought of that strange thing that wasn't controlled by divine sense. If that thing is refined together with the devil hammer, I wonder what it will be like. Chapter 2189. Little junior apprentice brother. Just as Xiaohua was deep in thought, Yan Qinglian's voice rang out again. Xiaohua opened his eyes and saw Zhuo Minghui, Xiangyang, and Yan Qinglian in the distance. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly got up and respectfully greeted her. How come Master's wife is also free today? Hee, even if I'm not free, I still have to come and take a look. Zhuo Minghui smiled and said, You are about to open your mansion. This is a grand occasion for the 2nd generation disciples of my 10,000 Thunder Valley. Although your master didn't say anything, he was overjoyed in his heart. I don't dare to trouble master, Xiaohua hurriedly said. Even if that wasn't the case, I would still be happy with the things you gave me. No matter what, I have to come and see what else you need in your cave abode. Zhuo Minghui pursed her lips and smiled. I didn't expect you to have such a trick up your sleeve. You actually schemed against your master. Seeing Zhuo Minghui's smiling face, Xiaohua knew that she wasn't blaming him, so he quickly explained. Disciple didn't dare to reveal it. Well, no need to say more. Zhuo Minghui waved her hand. The previous item was already eye-catching, and now this item is even more troublesome. Let's wait until we can't hide it anymore. Yes, I understand. Of course, Xiaohua knew the importance of this Thunder Beast's inner core to the Imperial Thunder Sect. It was much more important than the Earth Crystal Yao milk. Even with Thunder Mengdao's status, he might have some thoughts about it. How could he dare to say anything? Why hasn't it started yet? Yan Qinglian looked around and said, this concubine thought it was over. You didn't urge him? Xiang Yang asked with a frown. But Xiaohua thought otherwise and waved his hand and said, it doesn't matter. Whenever you come will do. If it really doesn't work, I'll do it myself. It's not right for me to do it myself. Zhuo Minghui didn't know about Xiaohua's background. She smiled and said, besides, our myriad Thunder Valley doesn't have any puppets. We rely on the methods of the Deafening Thunder Palace. Husband, let's go take a look at the Deafening Thunder Palace. Yan Qinglian said considerately. The opening of the abode is a big matter, and Master is still very concerned about it. Moreover, although Shueshui is in seclusion, if Sun Shu, Qian Dihing and other junior brothers' good friends come over and see that the abode is not ready, wouldn't they become a joke? Io. Speaking up to this point, Xiaohua came to his senses. He had been busy with his own affairs, plus there was a hidden danger of his strength increasing dramatically, so he had forgotten about this matter. He still hadn't informed these two people. Thus Xiaohua smiled and said, there's no need for that. Disciple hasn't notified the two of them yet. Oh. Zhuo Minghui frowned slightly. That's where you're wrong. These two are the direct disciples of Sunlei Palace and Qianlei Palace. Especially Qian Diheng. His status is extraordinary. It is not easy for them to be on good terms with you. Although we don't have to shamelessly approach them, the necessary etiquette is still necessary. Yes, disciple understands. Xiaohua hastily slapped his storage pouch and sent out 2 messaging talismans as he promised Zhuo Minghui. However, he disagreed in his heart. Sun Shu is fine, but that Qian Diheng. Damn it, it's impossible for him to not plunder my treasures. Sure enough, in less than half a day, Sun Shu and Qian Diheng arrived one after another. At this time, Xiang Yang and Yan Qinglian went to the Thunder Palace to urge him, while Zhuo Minghui returned to her abode, leaving Xiaohua alone to sit cross-legged. Sensing the two's divine wills, Xiaohua smiled and greeted them in midair. Ha ha ha, Qian Diheng's laughter was heard. Junior brother Xiao, you've built your foundation as expected. Damn it, I told you. You're definitely fine. Quick. What treasures did you get from your training this time? Quickly take them out and let senior brother see. See if you've been cheated, sweat. Xiaohua almost fell from midair. He originally thought that when Qian Diheng said quick, he wanted to know how he built his foundation. Who knew that he actually followed up with that sentence? Isn't this the legendary dog that can't change its habit of eating shit? Xiaohua secretly criticized. Greetings to junior brother Xiao. Congratulations to junior brother Xiao for building your foundation. Sun Shu had a smile at the corner of his mouth, his face carrying a trace of redness, and his eyes didn't have the slightest bit of astonishment. Obviously, he already knew from Shueshui that Xiaohua had built his foundation. Same to you, same to you. Xiaohua smiled and returned the greeting. Seeing this, Sun Shu's eyes immediately stared at Xiaohua, not wanting to leave for even half a moment. Seeing that Xiaohua actually ignored him, Qian Diheng was angry. He jumped up and said, Xiaohua, I left the old man and hurriedly came to find you. Looking at senior sister Sun's appearance, you've already built your foundation. Why didn't you tell me? Now that I'm here first, you actually talk to senior sister first. This kind of behavior that forgets righteousness in the face of love isn't the Xiaohua in my eyes. Tisk, Xiaohua said disdainfully. What does Xiaohua look like in your eyes? Qian Diheng's face was profound and full of worship. He slightly narrowed his eyes. In my eyes, Xiaohua should be generous, doesn't bother about trifles, and regards brotherhood as the number one. Even if he didn't eat it himself, he would still give the spiritual grass to his brothers. That's what you've seen in your dreams. Xiaohua smiled. He took out a jade box and handed it to Sun Shu. Senior sister Sun, this is a gift from junior brother. Please kindly accept it. It can't be. Junior brother Xiaohua. You've really disappointed senior brother too much. Qian Diheng had a defeated look, but his eyes were looking at that jade box. Many thanks, junior brother Xiao. Sun Shu took the jade box. She simply didn't look at it, and her face was tight with sweetness. That Qian Diheng probed. Senior sister Sun, don't you want to see what it is? Why would I want to see it? As long as it's given by junior brother Xiao, it's all good. Sun Shu was about to put the jade box into her storage bag. Senior sister should also take a look. If you can use it earlier, Xiao Hua said with a beaming smile. What is this? Sun Shu said curiously. Right now, I don't have any use for spiritual pills that can increase my power. That's right. Qian Diheng looked at the spiritual grass in the jade box, also puzzled. TSK, you still have the nerve to say that you're from the Heavenly Thunder Palace. Xiao Hua curled his lips and gave Qian Diheng a disdainful look. He raised his palm and stroked his incomparably young face left and right. What is the meaning of this? Qian Diheng was even more confused. He really didn't know what the youth-retaining grass was. Sun Shu was puzzled at first, but she didn't know why, but she suddenly understood. It was simply a female cultivator's sixth sense. Hurriedly, it was simply like a sudden clap of thunder, and Sun Shu immediately put the jade box into her storage bag. Don't. Qian Diheng was anxious. He cupped his hands and said, Senior sister Sun, you can't be like this. What the hell is this thing? Sun Shu looked at Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua was also beaming. He was still stroking his face shamelessly and said with a smile, What do you think female cultivators like me care about the most? Chapter 2190. What do you mean? How would I know about you female cultivators? Qian Diheng was confused. What do girls care about the most? Sun Shu didn't mind teasing Qian Diheng. Qian Diheng scratched his head. He really didn't understand. In the end, Sun Shu rolled her eyes at him helplessly. If I guessed correctly, junior brother Xiao gave me a youth-retaining grass. What? Youth-retaining grass? Qian Diheng was startled. He directly flew to Xiao Hua's side, grabbed Xiao Hua's shoulder and said with a grin, Junior brother Xiao, we are good brothers. This is a rare good thing in the world. How can senior brother be left out? TCH, Xiao Hua pushed Qian Diheng away. Female cultivators care about appearance. What are you, a big man, thinking about? Don't tell me you want to be a pretty boy for your whole life. What's wrong with being a pretty boy? Pretty boys are the preference of the heavens. Qian Diheng mumbled. The heavens made me so handsome, so I want him to stay this way for a lifetime. Besides, if you're a pretty boy for your whole life, why can't you let others be pretty boys for their whole life? All right. Xiao Hua patted his storage bag and took out a jade box. I originally prepared a rare sea beast's inner core for senior brother Qian. Since you don't want it, then take this. What? Qian Diheng snatched the jade box and threw it into his storage bag. His other hand reached out and smiled. Senior brother Qian wants the youth-retaining grass. Senior brother also wants the inner core. You really have no face. Xiao Hua looked at Qian Diheng's outstretched hand and shook his head helplessly. He took out 2 more jade boxes, one for Sun Shu and Qian Diheng. Sun Shu smiled. You should keep this for yourself. I don't lack pills in Sun Lei Palace. Qian Diheng took the 2 boxes and put one in his storage bag. He threw the other to Sun Shu and smiled. Senior sister, don't worry. According to my understanding of Xiao Hua, this guy definitely has a lot of inner cores. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't take them out. How could Sun Shu listen to him? He turned to look at Xiao Hua. Senior sister, take it. Xiao Hua didn't point it out. We haven't seen each other for several years. Consider it a greeting gift. All right. Sun Shu nodded and obediently put it away in his storage pouch. Junior brother Xiao, when did you build your foundation? Only now did Qian Diheng ask. Mn. Xiao Hua gave a simple explanation. It was even less than what he had told Wu Hai. But even so, it still took him quite a while to explain. Oh my, Qian Diheng stuck out his tongue. You really went to the QC. By the way, speaking of this, Qian Diheng suddenly remembered something. Junior brother Xiao, isn't it too wasteful to directly take the youthful grass? This stalk of face-retaining grass could be used to refine many face-retaining pills. A face-retaining pill is worth a lot of spirit stones. Nonsense. Xiao Hua sneered. Where did little brother get the pill formula? Qian Diheng chuckled. Junior brother, it's your fault for not telling senior brother. The Sun Thunder Palace might not have it, but the Heavenly Thunder Palace might not have it. Even if the Heavenly Thunder Palace doesn't have it, this senior brother can still look for it. But, junior brother Xiao, this business. Xiao Hua wasn't very interested in the face-retaining pill. At that time, he was just curious. Hearing Qian Diheng's words, his eyes lit up. He stretched out 2 fingers and shook it twice without saying anything. Junior brother Xiao, you don't have to do this. It's only 20%. Qian Diheng was about to cry. Little brother helped you find the pill formula, and find someone to refine it. You only provided the youthful grass. It's just that 80%. No one will do it. TCH, little brother only wants the pill formula. Xiao Hua said disdainfully. Ah? Qian Diheng was stunned. He looked at Sun Shu, who was also surprised. But both of them nodded slightly and didn't ask anymore. However, Qian Diheng pestered again. Even if it's the pill formula, it's still worth 40%. Junior brother Xiao. Qian Diheng almost pulled Xiao Hua's arm and shook it. He was simply acting spoiled. Fine. Xiao Hua waved his hand helplessly. I'll give you 30%. Little brother doesn't care about anything else. You only care about the pill. Give me the spirit stones. Deal. Qian Diheng immediately raised his hand. Xiao Hua reached out and clapped hands with him. He also laughed mischievously. Ai, something's not right. Sun Shu knew that at this time. He looked around and asked curiously. Junior brother Xiao, your cave, hasn't it been opened yet? No hurry. Xiao Hua didn't care at all. It's only been a few days. Senior brother went to rush me. At this time, Xiang Yang and Yan Qinglian flew back with a gloomy face. Sun Shu and Qian Diheng hurried forward to salute. Xiang Yang and Yan Qinglian didn't dare to neglect and also hurriedly returned the salute. Xiao Hua saw Xiang Yang's ugly face and smiled. What's wrong? Senior brother, did you suffer in the Thunderclap Palace? It's nothing. Xiang Yang shook his head. Now my Thunderclap Palace has a lot of Foundation Establishment disciples. We don't have enough puppets. Junior brother Xiao might have to wait for a while. No matter. Xiao Hua said warmly. It's the same even if I go into seclusion here. Seclusion? Qian Diheng frowned. You just entered Foundation Establishment. What are you going into seclusion for? Sun Shu hurriedly said. Junior brother Xiao, what's wrong? Nothing. Xiao Hua saw that he had a slip of the tongue and hurriedly said. Junior brother went to Guihisi and had some understanding. I understand. Qian Diheng nodded and said. Since that's the case, you should have a cave. Then he smiled nastily. Junior brother Xiao, wait a moment. Today I'll bring the Thunderclap Palace's puppets. I'll see which disciple dares to snatch the cave from my brother. Saying that, Qian Diheng activated a spell and rushed into the sky. TCH, if I'm not arrogant, I won't know you're a Thunderclap Palace disciple. Xiao Hua curled his lips, very disapproving. Let him go. Yan Qinglian teamed up and said. You don't know how unsightly the Thunderclap Palace's disciples are. My myriad Thunder Valley's confidence is still not enough. Xiao Hua knew that his eldest senior brother and senior sister-in-law were angry, so he didn't say anything more. He had puppets in his space, so he could open a cave at will. If it weren't for the Thunderclap Palace's rules, he would have already done it. Besides, he really didn't believe that spirit-seeking cat could find any spirit vein that was more formidable than his little silver. The Thunderclap Palace's direct disciples were indeed formidable. Sun Shu accompanied Yan Qinglian to talk for a while, and a Middle Foundation Establishment disciple came with a smile on his face, following behind Qian Diheng with more than 10 disciples. Seeing that disciple, Yan Qinglian's face was filled with disdain. Clearly, it was this person who made her and Xiang Yang suffer. Junior brother Qian, where do you want to open the cave? That disciple said with a very flattering smile. How would I know? Qian Diheng said coldly. It's my brother opening the cave, not me. Do I still need you guys when I open the cave? Yes. That disciple took a look and saw that only Xiao Hua was at the initial stage of Foundation Establishment. He hurried over and smiled apologetically. Where does junior brother want to open the cave? Didn't the Xiao already give my jade slip to the Thunderclap Palace? Why are you asking this, Xiao? Xiao Hua glanced at Xiangyang, whose face was a little ashen, and sneered. That disciple cupped his hands and said, I, Zhenming Hai, congratulate Myriad Thunder Valley's junior brother Xiao for reaching foundation establishment. I'm really sorry. During this time, my Thunderclap Palace has really had too many foundation establishment disciples. Junior brother Xiao just handed me your jade slip, and I haven't had time to look at it yet. Please forgive me. So it's like that. Xiao Hua pondered inwardly. This guy's words aren't without reason. It's just that his attitude is too bad. Thus he pointed his chin at Xiangyang and said, This Xiao doesn't care, but I don't know what my eldest senior brother thinks. Seeing that Xiao Hua actually didn't call him junior brother or senior brother, Zhenming Hai frowned slightly. After all, this Myriad Thunder Valley was considered the weakest branch in the Thunderclap Palace. Even if Xiangyang was already at the middle stage of foundation establishment, and had 2 foundation establishment disciples, Xiao Hua and Cui Hongshan, and even Xiang Zhili, the future disciple of Thunder Mesa's spiritual master. But after all, this was all in the future. Zhenming Hai, this kind of disciple with authority in his hands, really didn't attach too much importance to this matter. However, what Zhenming Hai was most afraid of was naturally Qian Diheng, this kind of heavenly Thunder Palace disciple who was even more arrogant than him. Now that things had come to this, how could he not know what to do? Zhenming Hai cupped his hands and said, Junior brother Xiang, junior sister Yan, previously this little one was really too busy and neglected you. This little one apologizes here. Seeing Zhenming Hai apologizing, Xiangyang felt uncomfortable at first, and hurriedly returned the gesture, saying, He, senior brother Zhen is thinking too much. This little brother didn't know that my Thunderclap Palace had many foundation establishment disciples now, and thought that it was intentional neglect. Since you were really busy, how could I blame senior brother? That's right. Zhenming Hai took the opportunity to say, I don't know what happened, but during this period of time, there were too many foundation establishment disciples from aristocratic families who entered my Thunderclap Palace. This little one is really busy. Seeing that her husband was so easily forgiving, Yin Qinglian snorted and said, Since that's the case, then forget it. However, this immortal's cave must be a little bigger. And that's natural. Zhenming Hai said with a smile. Junior brother Qian has already come forward. If it's too small, the Heavenly Thunder Palace will lose face. Immediately, Xiao Hua pointed to a location, and Zhenming Hai waved his hand. More than 10 disciples released several puppets and began to work. These puppets of Thunderclap Palace were really crude compared to Xiao Hua's puppets. Not only did they need several disciples to control them together, sometimes they even needed the disciples to use spells. However, these disciples were familiar with the way, and after spending more than half a day's effort, they opened up an immortal's cave that was twice as big as Cui Hongshan's. Opening up an immortal's cave must be paid with spirit stones. Seeing that the immortal's cave was opened late, Zhenming Hai cupped his hands and said with a smile, However, since it's junior brother Qian's good friend, this spirit stone is this little one's gift to congratulate junior brother Xiao on his foundation establishment. Don't. Qian Diheng was unhappy. With a wave of his hand, he took out several top-grade spirit stones and threw them at him, saying, This little master can't owe your Thunderclap Palace anything. Otherwise, my great-grandfather will deal with this little master. Chapter 2191. Alright then. Seeing Qian Diheng mention Gantian, Zhenming Hai didn't dare to say anything. He took the spirit stones and smiled. Thank you, junior brother Qian. Sometimes it's good to be a little arrogant. Xiao Hua whispered as he watched Zhenming Hai lead the disciples away. That's right. Qian Diheng curled his lips and said, Junior brother Xiao is usually too low-key. That's not what a man should do. Damn it. What does it have to do with you whether I'm a man or not? Xiao Hua glared at him in annoyance. These words sounded familiar to him as if a female cultivator had said it to him before. Yes, fairy Hongxia and Xue no. Qian Diheng revealed a lewd smile. Let's go, we'll go take a look at junior brother Zhao's cave. Yan Qinglian saw Qian Diheng's outrageous words and Sun Shu's blushing face and hurriedly said with a smile. And Sun Shu took the lead and quickly walked into the newly opened cave. Tisk, you still say it's big. Qian Diheng looked and complained again. It's only so much smaller than mine. What do I need such a big cave for? Xiaohua glanced at him. Of course. Qian Diheng raised his left hand as if he was going to count. Fine, Xiaohua knew what he was going to say and hurriedly waved his hand. Don't say any more. You're talking too much. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. I'm too lazy to say it. Qian Diheng began to look around, but unfortunately, after a moment he opened his mouth again. He pointed at the cave's surroundings and began to nag about what to put and what to put. He even raised his eyebrows and said, That's right, junior brother Xiao, great-grandfather has a good impression of you. When are you opening the cave? Let him come over and give you some face? I have to tell senior brother and master Xiaohua just said this when his body started to tremble again. Although it was very subtle, how could the cultivators not notice it? Xiaohua, what's wrong with you? Sun Shu was anxious. He walked over in a few steps and even asked with a sobbing tone. Qian Diheng's face also had a serious expression. Nothing, nothing. After Xiaohua finished trembling, he smiled and said, The meridians in my body is a bit not appropriate. I need to go into seclusion for a while. I understand. Xiang Yang's eyes flashed with understanding. He nodded slightly. I'll go find master now. Don't. Xiaohua was greatly alarmed. He hurriedly said, I'm afraid, even master can't do it. Why bother him? Xiang Yang had only seen Xiaohua's methods in the Misty Mountain. He knew that early-stage foundation establishment cultivators weren't his match, and he had also seen Xiaohua's methods after reaching foundation establishment in the Flame Forest Marsh. He knew that Su Yangyi was extraordinarily powerful, but he didn't believe that a late foundation establishment cultivator like Su Yangyi was helpless against him. He would rather think that it was Xiaohua who was helpless and scolded him. Why don't we ask great-grandfather for help? Qian Diheng made a prompt decision. I'll go back now. Stop. Xiaohua immediately berated. I know what I'm doing. Really? Qian Diheng hesitated. You are my god of wealth. Are you sure? Don't worry. Xiaohua patted his shoulder and said, Go back now and look for that thing. If possible, bring it over before I go into seclusion. Okay, Qian Diheng turned around and was about to leave, but after taking 2 steps he said, Then your mansion opening. It's all false reputation. What mansion opening? Xiaohua said carelessly, Life is still more important. Okay. Qian Diheng finished speaking and hurriedly flew away. Senior sister Sun, I've made a fool of myself. Xiaohua turned around and said, I just reached foundation establishment, and I've already caused so much trouble. It's nothing. As long as you're sure you're fine. Sun Shu was only worried about Xiaohua, and didn't ask for anything else. It's a pity that I can't let senior sister Sun participate in the mansion opening ceremony. Xiaohua blinked, looking very disappointed. Sun Shu was full of concern, and said with a forced smile, As long as you're fine. Then she thought for a moment and said, I'm actually going into seclusion in the next few days. Junior sister Shue's cultivation has improved greatly, and it's really a spur for me. Cultivation is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you'll fall back. And then senior sister Sun, take care. Xiaohua cupped his hands and said. Seeing Xiaohua sending her off, Sun Shu didn't want to leave, but thinking of Xiaohua's appearance just now, she could only nod, cupped her hands again, and quickly flew away. After the two left, Yan Qinglian said in a low voice, Junior brother, are you sure you don't need to tell master? What can I tell master? Xiaohua smiled bitterly looking at the two. Xiang Yang was also sad. He was very clear that Xiaohua now had an earth attribute constitution, and he really couldn't tell master. Since that was the case, he might as well not say it. You're going into seclusion now? Xiang Yang asked. Xiaohua said without hesitation. Yes, right now. I'll have to trouble senior brother to tell master's wife that I suddenly had an epiphany and must go into seclusion. As for the mansion opening ceremony, let's postpone it. Hee, I'm afraid Master will be hopping mad again. Xiangyang said with a laugh. It's hard to get a chance to show off. Xiao Hua smiled helplessly and said, if Qian Dihing didn't come, this cave mansion would still need half a year to open. And wouldn't the mansion opening ceremony also have to be postponed? I reckon I'll be able to come out of seclusion in half a year. Master's wife will tell Master, there's nothing impossible. All right. Hearing that it was only half a year, Xiangyang was relieved. He patted his storage pouch, took out a set of simple formation flags and jade slips, and said, this is the formation I received from Thunder Quake Palace. You can set it up yourself according to the jade slips. Okay. Xiao Hua took it. How about we help you set it up? Yan Qinglian said worriedly. Xiao Hua looked at the two senior brothers' concern, and his heart warmed. He knew that if he didn't let them do it, they would definitely be worried, so he nodded and said, then I'll have to trouble senior brother and senior sister. We're brothers, no need to be so polite. Xiangyang smiled, took the formation flags and talismans, and went to set it up with Yan Qinglian. In the time it took to eat a meal, the cave mansion's formation had already been set up. Yan Qinglian said again that she wanted to move some things from her cave mansion, but Xiao Hua stopped her. He only said that he would talk about it after he came out of seclusion, and asked Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian to go back. He raised his hand, waved the formation flags, and sealed the entire cave mansion. AI junior brother Yan Qinglian looked at Xiao Hua's hurried appearance, and couldn't help but worry. Junior brother Xiao is such a cautious person. For this kind of situation to occur, I'm afraid there's some problem. Although Xiangyang was honest and considerate, his thoughts were also meticulous. The more he thought about it, the more worried he became. If he really has a problem, why is he in such a hurry? Even Xue can't wait for him to come out of seclusion? But if Reverend Jing Ru were to use some sort of method. Chapter 2192. Io. That's right. Yan Qinglian came to her senses and covered her mouth. I knew it. Reverend Jing Su's reputation is so bad. How could he let junior martial brother go so easily? He must have a powerful method. But, what can we do? Xiangyang was even more certain. After all, Xiao Hua had said that there was no way around it. If it wasn't Reverend Jing Su's method, then what was it? Alas, Yan Qinglian sighed and looked at Xiao Hua's cave again. It was incomparably desolate. Let's go. Xiangyang waved his hand and said, this matter is the same as before. Don't tell Master's wife in detail. Just say that junior martial brother Xiao is going into seclusion. Don't mention anything else. Just in case you make a mistake by saying too much. I know. Let Master's wife tell Master. Yan Qinglian flew away and answered in a low voice. Xiao Hua sealed the cave entrance and sat down cross-legged. He operated his mental cultivation method, and the true essence in his meridians flowed smoothly. However, no matter how he urged his mental cultivation method, the earth attribute spiritual energy of heaven and earth that had accumulated in his meridians couldn't be mobilized, let alone refined. Immediately, Xiao Hua sensed the faint sound of thunder in the cave. However, although the faint sound of thunder could stir up the deposited spiritual energy, it was only enough to stir it up. It wasn't enough to activate the spiritual energy. However, this wasn't outside of Xiao Hua's expectations. He pondered for a moment and thought to himself, my current method should be to refine the accumulated spiritual energy of heaven and earth in my meridians and physical body. However, if I want to advance both at the same time, I need to multitask. Otherwise, I won't be able to cure it completely. Rather than that, I might as well split my primordial spirit. One primordial spirit will cultivate the dragon transformation art, and the other will cultivate the celestial body empowerment technique. In addition, the sword heart energy seed technique has been successful. This means that I can combine the primordial spirit strengthening technique, the primordial spirit splitting technique, and the ghost cultivation technique. Since that's the case, I should take advantage of my secluded cultivation to split these primordial spirits out. Every strand of primordial spirit will be dedicated to a specific task. It's better than me cultivating alone. Immediately after, Xiaohua thought for a long time. He sat cross-legged, made an extremely strange gesture with both hands, and pointed at his forehead. The spiritual power in his body gradually surged to the gesture in his hands, and his divine sense also contracted. After another incense stick of time, Xiaohua's face showed a painful expression, and bean-sized sweat droplets appeared on his forehead again. Just like before, an unparalleled pain, a sharp pain that was tearing himself apart, and a feeling that was worse than death came from Xiaohua's head. Although Xiaohua was mentally prepared for this pain, when it really came, Xiaohua was still unable to resist it. A feeling of extreme powerlessness arose in his heart. Rumble! There was a tremor in the air, and Little Silver once again jumped between the spirit plants in alarm. Little Yellow was also startled awake. Xiaohua didn't have time to talk to it in detail. Quick! Xiaohua's hands trembled as he made the gesture. As the incantation entered his body, Xiaohua felt his mind go blank. His head swayed, and it was as if the entire world had become two overlapping worlds. Seeing that a strand of primordial spirit had smoothly flown out, Xiaohua was secretly delighted. He then used a secret technique to channel that strand of primordial spirit into his meridians. Originally, Xiaohua had expected some unexpected things to happen during this process, since his meridians weren't like the dream executioners, and would reject it a little. Who would have thought that when the primordial spirit entered his meridians, there wouldn't be any abnormalities at all? There was an incomparably heavy pressure, as if a huge rock was pressing down on him, and that strand of primordial spirit fell into a deep sleep. Great! If it wasn't for the lingering pain, Xiaohua would have clapped his hands and laughed heartily. He knew that the strand of primordial spirit had already successfully fused with his meridians. He only needed to use the secret technique to nurture and strengthen that primordial spirit. After it woke up, it would be able to independently and actively use the dragon transformation art, just like how he was using his own cultivation method. Compared to the blood shadow art, it couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Fusing primordial spirit into the meridians, I'm afraid that in the entire Xiaoyu continent, only this young master can do it, right? Other people wouldn't even think about it. Xiaohua was secretly pleased. This is also because the blood shadow art is used so smoothly that it can go so smoothly. Mother, at this time, Goldie's dry voice sounded. What is this for? Xiaohua laughed. This is Mother's ever-changing. Don't be afraid. I reckon there will be more tremors like this in the future. Oh, seeing that Xiaohua was fine, Goldie closed its eyes and prepared to sleep again. Don't be anxious, Xiaohua hurriedly said. Tell Little Silver to help Mother find a place. Xiaohua hurriedly described a place with abundant spiritual energy. Okay, Goldie chirped a few times at Little Silver. Little Silver nodded and kept somersaulting among the spiritual plants. Then, Goldie fainted. Looking at Little Dusk sleeping, Xiaohua was extremely envious. Damn it, look at Goldie. He only needs to eat and then sleep to improve. This young master has to put in a lot of effort, and still has to endure the pain. This person is really not much different from other people. At this time, Xiaohua's primordial spirit was in severe pain, and he couldn't circulate his energy. Xiaohua simply lay down on the ground to rest. At this time, the cave's restriction made some noise. It can't be Qiandi Heng, right? Xiaohua thought. This guy is such a miser? Even more so than this young master? Opening the cave's restriction as expected, Qiandi Heng was standing in front of the cave, but his face was full of worry. Seeing Xiaohua's face as white as paper and even more concerned, he clapped his hands and took out 2 jade slips. He said, Junior Marshal Brother Xiao, just now I went to see great-grandfather. From what he said, I'm afraid that you've taken too many pills, and there's too much medicinal energy in your body. If you don't remove it in time, not only will it affect your realm, it will also destroy your meridians. At this time, you shouldn't cultivate anymore. Instead, you should first expel the medicinal energy. This jade slip contains a secret technique of my thunder-shocking palace, especially for your situation. So it's like this. Xiaohua was really grateful in his heart. He took the 2 jade slips and scanned them with his divine sense. One of them was naturally the pill formula of the face-retaining pill, and the other was a cultivation method. Xiaohua roughly looked at it and frowned. He said, according to this secret technique, won't all these medicinal energy be expelled? It's really a waste. When Qian Diheng heard this, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He scolded, Xiaohua, you don't want to live anymore. What time is it now, and you're still so greedy? Great-grandfather said that because you forcefully wanted to build your foundation, you took too many foundation-building pills, which caused the medicinal energy to accumulate. Although you've already built your foundation, your meridians are newly formed, and you still don't have the energy to refine these medicinal energy. If you don't expel it, what else can you do? Don't think about it. If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Don't think about wasting these pills. Then he said, as for that face-retaining pill, Junior Marshall Brother doesn't need to be in a hurry to refine it. Right now you can't easily use magic power. It's better to wait until after you enter seclusion. Then what did you bring the pill formula for? Xiaohua asked curiously. Damn it, if I don't take advantage of great-grandfather's good mood, when will I get it? If I give it to you, I won't think about it anymore. Besides, with your greedy face, wouldn't it be more comfortable to take the pill formula? So that you won't be willing to part with the medicinal energy in your meridians. Qian Diheng waved his hand and said, okay, quickly enter seclusion. By all means, don't be unwilling to use the secret method. After he finished speaking, he turned around and flew away for fear of delaying Xiaohua's seclusion. This guy really knows my heart. Xiaohua rubbed his nose. His heart felt warm as he returned to the immortal's cave. The pain in his head seemed to have lessened a lot. Only at this time did Xiaohua have the mind to look at his own immortal's cave. This immortal's cave was no different from Xiangyang's immortal's cave. Except for the place being bigger, the internal structure was exactly the same. As soon as he entered, he saw a hall used to receive guests. Then there was a small door leading to the back. The back was divided into two halves. One half was a nursery with flat ground for planting spiritual plants. The other half was divided into several spaces. Looking at it, it seemed to be a quiet room for refining pills and cultivating. However, at this time, it was empty inside, waiting for Xiaohua to arrange it at will in the future. Really not creative. I reckon that all the immortals' caves of Thunderous Palace disciples are like this. Xiaohua instantly thought of Xiangyang's immortal's cave and sighed. There was a trace of helplessness on his face, as he clearly thought of Haoming City's immortal's cave. Forget it. How can this young master fix this now? When I have time in the future? Thinking this, Xiaohua suddenly laughed. Damn it, if this young master's entire immortal's cave comes out again, wouldn't it be the legendary, a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows? Then, Xiaohua's mouth trembled rapidly a few times. It was actually very similar to a rabbit's 3-petaled mouth. Come out, Little Silver. Xiaohua waved his hand, and Little Silver appeared in midair again. But at this time, Little Silver was clearly no longer astonished. His 2 bright mouse eyes turned, and without waiting for Xiaohua's instructions, he rushed out in a flash. There was no need for Xiaohua to tell him anything at all. Io, don't be in such a hurry. Xiaohua hurriedly raised his hand to stop him. But seeing that Little Silver had already scurried out of the cave that hadn't been sealed yet, he could only sigh. You still listen to your mother. Last time, you didn't move no matter how I told you to search for the spirit vein. Forget it. I can't cultivate for the time being, so I'll go take a look. Xiaohua then flew out of the immortal's cave and opened the array. After Little Silver left the immortal's cave, he sniffed the air with his little nose, which had faint golden threads, and then flew into the depths of 10,000 Thunder Valley. Seeing this, Xiaohua's eyes turned. He had been a disciple of 10,000 Thunder Valley for a long time, but he had never been on duty there, so he didn't know how his Shifu was on duty. If he entered 10,000 Thunder Valley now, he might run into something helpless. But given Xiaohua's current cultivation, how could a late Foundation establishment cultivator discover him? Thus, Xiaohua only hesitated for a moment before his figure flashed, and he gave chase. That's not right. Xiaohua followed Little Silver into the depths of 10,000 Thunder Valley, and the faint sound of thunder gradually grew louder. Both silent and loud thunder attacked Xiaohua, and even his state of mind was a little disturbed. Xiaohua sensed that something wasn't right. Is Little Silver mistaken? How can there be a spirit vein here? Even if there is a spirit vein, it's impossible for me to open an immortal residence here, right? Chapter 2193. However, when Xiaohua released his Buddhist consciousness, he saw Little Silver's two bean-sized rat eyes glow, as if he had seen a spirit stone. Could it be that Little Silver has discovered some treasure? That was right. Wasn't a spirit-seeking mouse a rat that searched for spirit objects? It was only natural that Little Silver would be able to discover any treasure. It was just that the spirit-seeking mouse's greedy appearance was really too similar to Xiaohua's. After flying for half a day, Xiaohua's ears were already filled with the sound of thunder, but Little Silver didn't stop, and instead became even more excited. That's even more wrong. Realization dawned on Xiaohua at that moment. This guy couldn't have discovered the treasure in Myriad Thunder Valley, right? Not good, it's Shifu. Xiaohua's Buddhist consciousness suddenly saw a jade green stone wall overflowing with magic power, and a helpless figure abruptly appeared, his face full of exhaustion. He had taken out a jade token in his hand, and seemed to be sealing the restriction. When he looked at Little Silver again, it was clear that he also felt helpless, and his small figure abruptly darted downwards like a thin white light, instantly falling into the ground. Little Silver can also escape through the earth? Seeing this, Xiaohua's mouth gaped slightly. He really hadn't expected this. But Xiaohua smiled bitterly in an instant. Do rats naturally know how to dig holes? So what if they can escape through the earth? Doesn't that whatever nether bat also know how to escape through the earth? Seeing that Little Silver had no choice but to seal the restriction, Little Silver's figure flashed in his direction. Xiaohua didn't dare be careless, and his figure flew swiftly as he also rushed underground. Unfortunately, he didn't notice anything unusual at all, and flew away from where Xiaohua had stopped earlier, about 10 zhang away. Little Silver flew underground and didn't stop at all, continuing to flee forward until he was finally blocked by a restriction. Without the slightest hesitation, Little Silver opened his mouth and bit at the restriction. Good boy, Little Silver. Xiaohua hurriedly called out to Little Silver, but Little Silver ignored him and continued to swallow the spirit qi on the restriction mouthful by mouthful. Oh. Xiaohua instantly remembered how Little Silver had bitten the imprisonment spell to save him when he had just entered the Imperial Thunder Sect. He knew that Little Silver had the ability to swallow spirit qi. After that, Xiaohua released his Buddhist perception and opened his Dharma eyes. When he looked at the restriction before him, he couldn't help but frown. This was an extremely powerful array. There were many restrictions within the array, layer upon layer, and all kinds of restrictions were linked together. It was very difficult to break through. Even if Xiaohua's cultivation in array formations had improved greatly, it would still not be easy to break through. Forget it, let Little Silver try. Xiaohua nodded slightly, and his Buddhist awareness swept over. He saw that this was a huge magic array that stretched for dozens of miles, and it enveloped all the valleys in front of it. Lightning flashed within the array, and all kinds of thunder were transmitted through the restriction. My goodness, if the outside of the formation is already so powerful, what about inside the formation? This should be the core of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Xiaohua understood in his heart, and his heart was filled with joy. Only a place where thousands of lightning bolts gathered would be able to stimulate the accumulated spiritual energy in his body. Admittedly, the array was powerful, but spirit mice were born to swallow spirit qi. It took Little Silver half a day before he finally bit off a strand of spirit qi in the array. With a crack, a bolt of lightning passed through the array and struck Little Silver. Xiaohua was already prepared. He stretched out his hand to block in front of Little Silver. A wave of numbness spread up his arm, and a few strands of spirit qi were actually drawn out of his body by the lightning. At the same time, Xiaohua swung his right hand again, and several rabbit spirit talismans hit the flaw that Little Silver had bitten out, blocking the area that was already starting to close up. Little Silver's body was like lightning, and before the lightning could leak out, His small figure scuttled into the array. Slow down a little. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. He cast several more spirit talismans to widen the flaw. And then he also flew into the array. See, Xiaohua had already imagined the core of the 10,000 Thunder Valley countless times before. But when he saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't help sucking in a cold breath. It was a deep valley surrounded by lightning, and the bottom couldn't be seen. But in the middle of the valley, which was several li away, there was a huge cone-shaped mountain peak that seemed to stand out of thin air. Countless bolts of lightning struck the mountain peak from top to bottom, and there wasn't the slightest gap at all. This is the 10,000 Thunder Valley? It's not just 10,000 bolts of lightning. Xiaohua didn't dare release his Buddhist awareness or divine will. He only looked at the mountain peak in the distance, which stood tall amidst the millions of bolts of lightning, and sighed with emotion in his heart. Furthermore, the millions of bolts of lightning didn't fall from the sky, but from the void as they struck the mountain peak. Lightning flowed over the mountain peak and fell straight down into the deep black abyss below. Little Silver? Xiaohua cried out in surprise. Little Silver's small body shuttled through the lightning with great familiarity. He had already flown more than 1,000 zhang, and his target was the mountain peak in the center of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. At this point, how could Xiaohua not know what Little Silver was thinking? Little Silver probably really regarded the core of the 10,000 Thunder Valley as a treasure. Or perhaps Little Silver wanted Xiaohua to open up his cave residence here? Fuck, if that was the case, it would be the biggest joke in the world. Wouldn't Thunder Palace immediately pull out Xiaohua's tendons and skin him alive? Squeak squeak. Little Silver flew another li, unease on his face. He didn't dare move forward anymore and just stood in midair, his two front paws clasped together as if he was bowing, his eyes flashing. I understand. Xiaohua nodded. With a flick of his sleeve, he put Little Silver into his space. Then he activated the Bright Thunder Escape and flew toward the mountain peak. The Bright Thunder Escape was swift to begin with, and in this space filled with lightning, he was even more like a fish in water. An unprecedented feeling of comfort actually emerged when he used the lightning escape technique. Xiaohua's heart suddenly stirred as he thought to himself. The lightning escape technique should be used to escape amidst lightning. The Imperial Thunder Sect had this 10,000 Thunder Valley. Was it where they cultivated the lightning escape in the beginning? It's just that the secret technique to avoid lightning was lost, and many cultivators didn't dare train here, so this place was abandoned? Don't you remember what Shifu said? Guarding the 10,000 Thunder Valley is a very difficult task. At first it was highly valued, but later on, it wasn't so well received anymore. Just as he was thinking this, a huge bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in the air. Xiaohua didn't have time to dodge at all before it struck him. A wave of numbness and soreness came from his body, and he fell from midair. Hiss, Xiaohua didn't dare be careless. His Phoenix Dharma body flew out of his body and flapped its wings to stabilize his body. Crack crack. Before Xiaohua could react at all, several bolts of lightning appeared and struck his Phoenix Dharma body repeatedly. Sizzle. Electric light flowed into Xiaohua's body. Chapter 2194. Haha, great. Xiaohua was overjoyed. This lightning not only mobilized the heaven and earth spiritual energy in his body, it also accelerated the refining of spiritual energy. This lightning is obviously different from the heavenly lightning of the lightning tribulation, and even more different from the thunderstorm of the Qianhe Sea. Xiaohua was somewhat enlightened. Looks like there are many types of lightning in this world. Let's go. Xiaohua obviously couldn't cultivate here. His figure swayed again, and he flew towards the mountain peak. During this period of time, the lightning became even more concentrated. The phoenix body couldn't take care of it in the end, so Xiaohua had no choice but to release the Buddha Saraira. The lightning struck the Saraira, and like a brush, it gradually filled the Saraira with gold color. Escape. When he got close to the mountain, Xiaohua used the earth escape technique, and his figure jumped into it. Fortunately, even though there were tens of thousands of lightning strikes, the mountain peak was still a mountain peak. Otherwise, Xiaohua wouldn't be able to escape. Once he entered the mountain peak, Xiaohua didn't hesitate anymore and directly escaped downwards. He only stopped when he couldn't escape anymore. The inside of the mountain peak was the same as the outside of the mountain peak. All kinds of lightning struck Xiaohua from different void flashes, as if the mountain peak was void. The lightning flickered, lingering around Xiaohua's entire body. Xiaohua closed his eyes tightly, and the lightning on his body either merged into his body or merged into the mountain peak again. The earth crystal Yao Milk spiritual energy in Xiaohua's body also slowly flowed within the lightning. It was refined by Xiaohua's celestial body bestowment technique. On one hand, it was refined into his body, and on the other hand, it was sent into his meridians. Looking at Xiaohua's meridians again, there was also lightning striking. The spiritual energy in his meridians was the same as in his body, and it was drawn out like a gurgling stream. The hidden danger of Xiaohua's cultivation was actually slowly dissolving in this unimaginable way. Although Xiaohua didn't deliberately use his mental cultivation method, his cultivation was still slowly improving. 10 days later, Xiaohua waited for the pain to disappear and split his primordial spirit again. This time his primordial spirit merged into his body. He focused on practicing the celestial body bestowment technique. This was also Xiaohua's attempt. In his mind, the celestial body bestowment technique was different from the earth attribute mental cultivation method. He couldn't multitask, and since he had to practice the celestial body bestowment technique and mental cultivation method, he might as well try to merge his primordial spirit with his body. Who would have thought that it would happen so quickly? This was truly beyond his expectations. Even Xiaohua himself suspected that his physical body was alive just like his meridians. Another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua split his primordial spirit again. This time, the split primordial spirit fused into his bones. The bone tempering technique of the Sunset Island was different from the Big Dipper magical fist technique. It was a type of mental cultivation method that was similar to striking. Now that the lightning had fallen, it was the best time to practice the bone tempering technique. Xiaohua didn't want to miss such a good opportunity. Another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua split his primordial spirit again. This time, Xiaohua wanted to merge his primordial spirit with the Phoenix Dharma body. However, when he thought about how the Phoenix Dharma body already had several types of soul essences, Xiaohua admitted that his primordial spirit was inferior to the Phoenix Dharma body. Thus, after a brief thought, he sent his primordial spirit into the Buddha Sarira. Another 10 days passed and Xiaohua split his Yuan divinity again. This time, the Yuan divinity was fused into Xiaohua's dimension, the heavenly Tao starry sky. The heavenly Tao starry sky was originally formless, but Xiaohua already had a trace of his primordial spirit follow the fire origin into the space and merge with the starry sky. This trace of primordial spirit also entered the starry sky extremely smoothly. Another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua split his primordial spirit again. This time, the split primordial spirit fused into the hand of karma. This hand of karma was truly vast. Xiaohua didn't expect to be able to control the entire hand of karma. But if he could have a trace of his primordial spirit in the hand of karma, he should have sufficient time to comprehend karma, right? Another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua split his primordial spirit again. This time, the split primordial spirit didn't merge into any place, but stayed alone in the space. Xiaohua waited for this primordial spirit to awaken and strengthen. Then he would comprehend many of his jade slips. Finally, another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua thought for a long time. He felt that apart from the 8 sword pellets, there was nothing else he needed to comprehend with his primordial spirit. Just as he was about to merge his primordial spirit with the unrepaired sword pellets, Xiaohua's heart stirred, and he thought of his own space. This space was behind his head, but it wasn't under his control. If he could have a primordial spirit as the master, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted? However, when he truly tried to control it, he ran into trouble. This trace of primordial spirit couldn't merge into the space, and was left alone outside like the primordial spirit he used to comprehend the jade slips. Helpless, Xiaohua thought of the mysterious place where the soul strands had penetrated. Thus he sent his primordial spirit into the dark clouds along with the soul strands. He used this primordial spirit to comprehend the green seal text and soul cultivation methods. The 8 sword pellets had yet to be completely repaired, and Xiaohua's primordial spirit couldn't merge with them. Moreover, at this time, Xiaohua faintly felt that splitting his primordial spirit had a great use. Splitting a trace of his primordial spirit and putting it into the sword pellets was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Now, Xiaohua had split his primordial spirit into 8 different strands to comprehend 8 different cultivation methods. Each strand had its own responsibility, and each strand did their best. After doing all this, Xiaohua let out a long sigh of relief. Although he had a splitting headache, it was really uncomfortable. Anyone who split their primordial spirit 8 times in a row would feel uncomfortable. However, Xiaohua was even more delighted in his heart. He had grasped too many cultivation methods. Just relying on one primordial spirit to cultivate, it was already not bad to be able to cultivate one cultivation method to the extreme, not to mention these 7 or 8 cultivation methods. Even if it was a Confucian cultivator, soul cultivator, or Buddhist cultivator, these 3 cultivation methods that were on par with the Tao sect, it was impossible to successfully cultivate them, let alone something as unpredictable as the heavenly Tao and the hand of karma. Perhaps when these primordial spirits awaken, I will have some accomplishments. Xiaohua immediately closed his eyes. First, before the primordial spirits awakened, he activated the immortal body bestowment technique, relying on the lightning strike to refine the spiritual energy in his body. In his heart, he secretly planned for the future. Just as Xiaohua thought, 100 days later, these primordial spirits gradually awakened. Xiaohua didn't feel any special discomfort. It was only at the beginning that he felt like he was waking up from a dream, and it was a very strange feeling. As the primordial spirits began to operate their cultivation methods, different feelings and understandings were transmitted to the main primordial spirit, and through the main primordial spirit, it was shared with the other primordial spirits. Xiaohua slowly adapted to this strange cultivation method. More than a year later, whether it was in his meridians or in his body, half of the earth attribute spiritual energy had been refined, and the remaining sediment was even more difficult to refine. While Xiaohua was refining his spiritual energy, he was doing other things. The first thing Xiaohua did was to take out the 50% of the male lightning beast's inner core that he had obtained from Helpless and Cui Hongshan from the space. The lightning beast's inner core flashed and immediately attracted countless lightning strikes, all of which struck the inner core. Xiaohua formed several seals and condensed the male lightning beast's inner core above his head. Then he also took out the remaining 80% of the female lightning beast's inner core. After forming seals, he took out 60% of it, and put the remaining 20% back into the space. Similar to the male lightning beast's inner core, countless lightning strikes struck out at the same time. Moreover, between the male and female cores, there was actually purple lightning that connected them together. Seeing this situation, Xiaohua was even more certain that his guess when he saw Shue's foundation building on the heavenly sea should be correct. Then, Xiaohua took out 9 drops of the male and female lightning beast's blood, and condensed them on the surface of the 2 inner cores. When the blood went deep into the inner cores, Xiaohua formed seals one after another. It was exactly the same as refining the thunder pill. Finally, Xiaohua pointed his finger. Go! The 2 inner cores spun and entangled together, and like melting liquid, they were poured into the phoenix celestial body by Xiaohua. Kachacha! The phoenix celestial body flashed with lightning, and lightning also appeared between its wings and claws. Great! Xiaohua was overjoyed. He used the phoenix celestial body as the cauldron, and the male and female lightning beast's inner cores as the core liquid to refine the thunder pill. It was precisely embedding the 2 inner cores into the phoenix celestial body to form the inner core of the celestial body, which was similar to the innate inner core of the lightning beast. Then, when Shui was building her foundation, the innate seals of the lightning beast's hands appeared in Xiaohua's mind. His hands also slowly waved. Not only were more than a dozen lightning bolts controlled by Xiaohua, but lightning bolts that were several times more powerful than the thunder palm were also suddenly born in his palm. Not only that, at the same time that the 2 inner cores in the phoenix celestial body were rotating, in the depths of the myriad thunder valley, A purple light spot that was both big and small, which was invisible to the naked eye, divine sense, and even Buddhist sense, was attracted by the yin and yang lightning bolts. It slowly flew out from the depths of the valley and rushed towards Xiaohua. Its appearance was actually similar to the earliest fire origin. Xiaohua used nearly 10 days to properly embed the inner cores of the phoenix celestial body. He saw the thin and long lightning bolt strike the phoenix celestial body, and threads of light entered the body, seeping into the yin and yang inner cores, increasing the number of inner cores. Moreover, in a short period of time, strands of Hotian impurities turned into green smoke and flew out from the inner cores. Xiaohua was overjoyed in his heart, knowing that he had found the correct method to embed the lightning beast's inner cores. This was what Xiaohua saw. What Xiaohua didn't see, or perhaps what Xiaohua didn't expect, was that in Xiaohua's lower dantian, on both sides of the extremely small virtual spot, 2 more virtual spots flashing with lightning bolts appeared. However, they were even smaller, and even more inaudible. After arranging the lightning beast's inner cores, Xiaohua once again took out the Great Wisdom Sword. In his mind, he carefully recalled the Demon Realm's blood fusion technique. He opened his mouth, and a mouthful of blood essence touched the Great Wisdom Sword. Immediately after, Xiaohua's hands waved again. However, this time, Xiaohua didn't make any strange hand seals. Instead, he used the hand seals that controlled the lightning bolts just now. Under Xiaohua's control, numerous lightning bolts fell down, striking the Great Wisdom Sword. The lightning bolts were very uniform, and also contained an indescribable rhythm. If one were to listen to it, it would actually sound like a sonorous and powerful rhythm. Even if one were to look at it with their eyes, it would be a magnificent scene of splashes of splendor. This lightning strike technique was precisely the Demon Realm's blood fusion technique. However, Xiaohua had changed the Demon Realm's demon weapon to lightning. Following Xiaohua's blood fusion technique, the blood essence gradually plated a layer of faint golden light film on the surface of the Great Wisdom Sword. Next, Xiaohua took out that strange object again, and similarly spat out a mouthful of blood essence. Just like the Great Wisdom Sword, the lightning bolt struck it, and not long after, another layer of golden light film plated on the fist-sized object. Chapter 2195. Combine, Xiaohua shouted. That thing collided with the Great Wisdom Sword. Xiaohua didn't hesitate and struck out with a different lightning strike rhythm, hitting exactly where the two came into contact. After an unknown amount of time, that thing turned into a ball of membrane, wrapping around the Great Wisdom Sword. At this time, Xiaohua was a little hesitant. He took out a few pieces of the silver-plated sword, looked at them, and threw them into the space. He took out the 2 demonic hammers, shook his hands, and like before, used the blood fusion technique to stick the 2 demonic hammers together with the Great Wisdom Sword. In the end, Xiaohua's hands swung once again, forming different hand seals. The rhythm of the entire lightning strike changed again, completely enveloping the Great Wisdom Heavy Sword, the Devil Hammer, and that inexplicable thing. Xiaohua's blood essence had already completely transformed into a golden substance, gradually seeping into the 3 things, and the 3 things immediately fused together. Looking at the golden substance that was continuously rolling around in the lightning above his head, Xiaohua smiled and secretly said, "In any case, this young master has finally found the method to refine the Great Wisdom Sword. Even if I can only fuse these things together now, this is still a big improvement. The lightning strike method should be outside of the 5 elements. This young master is really smart. The blood fusion technique doesn't touch the 5 elements at all. It's just that. I don't know when this blood fusion technique will succeed, so I'll just let them roll around here." After another month, Xiaohua saw that the Great Wisdom Sword still couldn't completely fuse, so he ignored it and took out the few pieces of silver-plated sword. Looking at the few pieces of demonic tools, Xiaohua's heart was filled with emotion. Really, since Xiaohua first stepped into the cultivation world, entered Jingbua City, was forced to buy the demonic spear tip from Shi Wuming at Mingsui Mountain, and finally got the last piece of the demonic spear shaft from Kuo Qiao, this silver-plated sword was finally gathered. This was almost the entire process of Xiaohua's cultivation. However, Xiaohua was very gratified. A demonic tool that could make the heavenly demon sect master remember was definitely not an ordinary item. Xiaohua only sighed with emotion for a moment, then spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood essence. Just like the great wisdom sword, the silver-plated sword was fused together. Naturally, Qiu Yinlu couldn't completely fuse with the great wisdom sword. Xiaohua only needed to connect the broken parts, which should be easy. However, when Xiaohua's blood was fusing, he actually discovered that there was an extremely strong repulsive force within the Dragon Silver Gilt, which wanted to expel his blood essence from the Dragon Silver Gilt. Xiaohua was unable to infuse his blood essence into the demonic artifact, so he could only use his blood essence to connect the few segments together. Thus, the seemingly complete ancient Dragon Silver Gilt was absorbed into his space. After all, Xiaohua didn't have the complete refining method of the Devil Realm, not to mention how to repair the ancient Dragon Silver plating. Another half a year passed, and more than 70% of the accumulated spiritual energy in Xiaohua's meridians and body had been refined. Xiaohua's cultivation level rose again, and he finally entered the late stage of foundation establishment. Another portion of new meridians had been opened. Xiaohua's divine sense, Buddhist consciousness, and even space expanded once more. Just as Xiaohua was advancing, Helpless happened to be on guard duty in the Myriad Thunder Valley. Helpless sat inside the Myriad Thunder Valley's restriction, inside an immortal's cave protected by layers of restriction spells. Seeing lightning suddenly flickering on the mountain peak in the distance, countless spiritual energy of heaven and earth flocking in, he couldn't help but be shocked. He hurriedly threw out a misty green copper mirror in his hand, and spat a mouthful of true essence into it. Thus he could see all the movements on the mountain peak. Strange, the lightning on Jile Peak is 20% more than before, but the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has increased by 40%. Could there be some unforeseen event? Helpless slightly frowned. However, he was very clear in his heart that although his magic artifact could observe the entire Myriad Thunder Valley, most of its range was the entire abyss and restriction spells, as well as the surface of Jile Peak. If it went any deeper, there would be lightning interference, and it would be impossible to detect. Just like his divine sense, although much stronger than ordinary cultivators, he still couldn't rashly detect Jile Peak. Should I report this to the shocking Thunder Palace? Helpless was somewhat hesitant, but he was clear in his heart that the current Myriad Thunder Valley was no longer as useful as before. This little change might not be able to attract the attention of the masters of the shocking Thunder Palace. Forget it, it's I's duty anyway. How can I not report it? After making the decision, Helpless put away the copper mirror, came out of the cave, opened the restriction spell, and flew towards his own immortal's cave. Oh, shwe. Helpless flew past Xiaohua's immortal's cave. As usual, he took a look. Xiaohua's immortal's cave was still sealed, and there were no abnormalities. Unlike before, today there was a pretty female cultivator standing quietly in front of the sealed immortal's cave. Shwe naturally saw Helpless and immediately saluted respectfully. "Greetings, Martial Uncle Helpless." "Oh, get up." Helpless smiled and helped Shwe up. He looked her up and down and nodded. As expected of the lightning beast's bloodline, it's extraordinary. You just stepped into the foundation establishment realm, and after a few days of closed-door cultivation, your cultivation has advanced so much. No disciple of my Myriad Thunder Valley can compare to you. Alas, if that little bastard Xiaohua could be as well behaved as you, he could be as good as you are. This old man's heart will be at ease. I don't know which part of that little bastard you've taken a fancy to. Shwe's face was slightly red, and she said with a smile, "Martial Uncle Helpless, you know that not only is Xiaohua's cultivation. Forget it, let's not talk about cultivation. Xiaohua's heart is kind, and his actions are straightforward and upright. Even if he's a low-level cultivator, he's still the target of my admiration. Besides, I seem to know more about Xiaohua than Martial Uncle. I feel that Xiaohua is the one I've entrusted my life to. Even if I die for him, even if my body is torn to pieces, I'm still willing." "You silly child. What are you talking about? Helpless shook his head and said, "This old man feels strange because I don't understand Xiaohua. His foundation is lacking, and his aptitude can't be considered particularly good. Normally, he should wholeheartedly focus on cultivation, and perhaps have some achievements. However, he has too many distractions, and he seems to have dabbled in too many things. Even if he's finally reached the foundation establishment realm, in this old man's eyes, it's difficult for him to achieve great success. If you have the chance in the future, you have to persuade him. Cultivation is really too important for cultivators." A trace of understanding flashed across Shueishue's face, and then she became somewhat resolute. She nodded and said, "This junior understands. If there's a chance, I'll definitely explain it to him. However, this junior also wants to find a time to explain it to Martial Uncle in detail. Perhaps Martial Uncle can change your view of Xiaohua." "Oh, what's so special about Xiaohua? Why don't you tell this old man now?" Helpless was somewhat curious. However, Shueishue shook her head slightly and said, "Okay, Martial Uncle knows that some things can't be said, but the time isn't right. When the time is, this junior will naturally say it. At that time, Martial Uncle Helpless will also have some choices." "Ha ha ha." Helpless laughed loudly. "This old man knows. My 10,000 Thunder Valley's second disciple, Cui Hongshan, is about to hold the dual cultivation ceremony with Dui Qiming of Converging Thunder Palace. When the two of them are done, it'll naturally be your and Xiaohua's turn. At that time, this old man really wants to hear what kind of strange story you have with Xiaohua. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for it." Chapter 2196. Shueishue's face froze for a moment before her face flushed red. She said shyly, "Martial Uncle is right. Junior. Ha ha." He helplessly smiled again. With a wave of his sleeve, his figure flew up, and he said, "This old man won't talk to you anymore, so as to avoid making you feel embarrassed. When Xiaohua comes out of seclusion, this old man will have his master's wife go find Martial Uncle Sun. Goodbye, Martial Uncle Helplessness." Shueishue bowed her head, but there were tears in her eyes and her face was pale. Unfortunately, Helplessness felt joy in his heart. How could he see it? When Helplessness walked far away, Shueishue's gaze was filled with longing, unwilling to leave immediately. She lingered in front of the cave for a long time before leaving a message talisman and flying back to Xuanlei Palace. Xiaohua naturally didn't know that Shueishue came out of seclusion to find him. He also didn't know that the phenomenon of him entering Foundation establishment late stage attracted Helplessness's attention. He was still leisurely looking at the great wisdom sword being tempered by lightning. From time to time, he would use spells to control the lightning to change its rhythm. By now, Xiaohua had already opened up new meridians, and the natural energies inside his body and meridians were still being slowly refined by the two strands of nascent divinities. Therefore, Xiaohua began to refine the black spots inside his meridians again, pushing his cultivation base and stabilizing his cultivation base. Xiaohua would never take out Daoist Jing Xi's one Qi divine furnace from the space if he didn't have any assurance. Xiaohua had even calculated that when the wisp of primordial spirit had free time, he would refine this magic weapon in the space and take it for himself. At this time, he took out his three-legged vermilion bird phoenix rune furnace and ignited it with the Samadhi true fire. He threw the youth-retaining grass and other spiritual herbs into the furnace and began to refine the youth-retaining pill according to the recipe that Qian Diheng had given him. The streaks of lightning struck the furnace and added some magical effects to the youth-retaining pill. The face-preserving pill was just a normal pill. However, the face-preserving grass was rare. Otherwise, Gantian Mountain wouldn't have casually given the pill recipe to Qian Diheng. To Xiaohua, who had refined the Ling Lei Dan before, this kind of Dan was as easy as lifting a finger. He had earned so many spirit stones just by cultivating leisurely. Unknowingly, more than half a year had passed. Xiaohua had already been in seclusion for nearly 3 years. Just as Wuxia expected, after he sent out the message talisman, he made a special trip to the deacon of 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 the 10,000 Thunder Valley and Jilei Peak, who still didn't take the matter of the Jile Peak seriously. Soon after, Xiaohua's meridians returned to normal, and the sudden appearance of the lightning and heaven-earth spiritual qi also disappeared. Helplessly, he could only put this matter aside. He was still on duty at 10,000 Thunder Valley, and Xiangyang and Cui Hongshan were also patrolling the outskirts of 10,000 Thunder Valley. On this day, Helpless was cultivating with his eyes closed. He released his divine sense slightly, and used the lightning within the 10,000 Thunder Valley to refine it. This was a secret technique he had discovered by chance when he was on duty at 10,000 Thunder Valley. Although it wasn't a complete secret technique, the pure torture and refinement allowed his divine sense to be stronger than other cultivators of the same level. Suddenly, he felt that there was some movement in the restriction outside the 10,000 Thunder Valley. He withdrew his divine sense and took out the copper mirror. When he saw that there was an early gold core stage cultivator outside the restriction looking at him coldly, he immediately put away the copper mirror and opened the formation. He respectfully greeted him with a smile. Junior has no choice. Greetings, Martial Uncle Zhen Shichao Zhen. Zhen Shichao raised his hand in greeting, but his eyes were looking behind Helpless. He asked, half a year ago, you reported to Thunder Palace twice, saying that there was something wrong with Jile Mountain? Yes. Helpless nodded his head in reply, but then he hesitated and said, however, that abnormality only lasted for a dozen days, and then it gradually calmed down. Now it has been a few months, and it hasn't appeared. Can you leave an image? Zhen Shichao seemed to have expected Helpless' answer, and his tone was still indifferent. Martial Uncle Zhen, Jile Mountain can never leave an image. Helpless reminded him. This is the rule of Thunder Palace. When was that rule? Zhen Shichao sneered. The current Jile Mountain is no longer as important as before. Then he flicked his sleeves and said, since you don't have an image, and there is no abnormality now, how would this old man know where this abnormality came from? Yes. Helpless had no way to refute, and could only lower his head and agree. Forget it. Zhen Shichao sighed. Since you coaxed me here, I have to take a look. Saying this, Zhen Shichao flew into the myriad Thunder Valley, and with a clap of his hand, a lightning protection ring flew into the air, surrounding him, and then flew towards Jile Mountain. Along the way, countless lightning bolts struck Zhen Shichao's body, but they were all absorbed by the brilliance emitted by the lightning protection ring. Not a single lightning bolt struck Zhen Shichao, and when they were within 10 feet of Jile Peak, the lightning protection ring had turned purplish-red, and Zhen Shichao's body began to glow. It was obvious that the lightning protection ring could no longer absorb all the lightning bolts. Zhen Shichao didn't dare to get any closer, and with a clap of his hand he took out a square bronze mirror about 3 feet long and 2 feet wide. He spat a mouthful of true yuan on it, and the surface of the mirror emitted a blue brilliance. When Zhen Shichao formed a seal with his hand, a wave of ripples appeared, and various lightning bolts flashed in Jile Mountain. Poor Xiaohua was now proudly cultivating with a smile on his face. How would he know that someone was exploring Jile Mountain? Why is the lightning so strange here? Zhen Shichao carefully observed until he saw the lightning bolts of the Great Wisdom Sword. At this time, the Great Wisdom Sword and the Devil Hammer had merged together, forming the shape of a long rod. The Devil Hammer had already turned into a shell that covered the outside of the Prajna Heavy Sword. However, because it was only blood fusion, the Devil Hammer had yet to truly fuse with the Prajna Heavy Sword. As such, the shape of the Prajna Heavy Sword did not change much. Of course, because it was a rod, the lightning bolts around it were also in the shape of a rod, which made Zhen Shichao realize something was wrong. Then, Zhen Shichao pointed at the magic treasure again. A wave of spiritual power came from the magic treasure and shrouded Jile Peak. The scene of Jile Peak flashed in the mirror bit by bit. Oh, there's someone. The fluctuation of magic power woke Xiaohua up. Xiaohua's Buddhist sense swept out, and immediately perceived the fluctuation of spiritual power from the magic weapon. He didn't dare to be negligent, and immediately put away the Great Wisdom Sword into the space along with the Pill Furnace and Dharmakaya. He didn't dare to hesitate and urged his magic power to escape towards the bottom of Jile Peak. At this time, Xiao Hua's spiritual power doubled again, and he went even deeper. When the place where the great wisdom sword was appeared, it was normal, and there was not the slightest abnormality. Strange. When Zhen Shichao withdrew the spiritual power and looked again, the rod-shaped lightning bolts had disappeared again. Maybe it's the lightning's abnormality? Zhen Shichao looked around, and he had already come to a conclusion. He continued to look down. However, the use of his lightning avoidance ring was limited. After looking for half an hour, there was still a lot of time before Xiao Hua went down. Zhen Shichao felt that he could not hold on any longer, so he put away the magic weapon, turned and flew to Wuxia, who was waiting respectfully in the cave, and said faintly, "I have already looked, there is nothing unusual in Jilei Mountain." "Thank you for your trouble, Martial Uncle Zhen." Wuxia cupped his hands and smiled apologetically. Disciples' report gave Martial Uncle Zhen a false alarm. "And no matter." Zhen Shichao waved his hand and said, "It's your duty, you can't be blamed. Moreover, the Myriad Thunder Valley has been peaceful for so long, it's normal for there to be some abnormalities." Then Zhen Shichao took a storage bag from his waist and handed it to Wuxia, saying, "This is the spirit stones and elixirs rewarded by the Myriad Thunder Valley this year. Consider it as compensation for the hard work of the Myriad Thunder Valley disciples." Wuxia was stunned and hurriedly said, "Martial Uncle Zhen, there is indeed something unusual about Jilei Mountain. Disciple is not trying to be sensational. Hee, this old man didn't say anything about you." Zhen Shichao was even more certain. He threw the storage bag to Wuxia and smiled. "The disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley have indeed worked hard. You have also worked hard. The thunder and lightning of Jilei Mountain is really powerful. Even this old man can't go near it. It has indeed been hard for you to keep watch here. This reward from the palace is only right." "Yes." Wuxian's mouth was filled with bitterness. He took the storage bag and smiled apologetically. "Thank you, Martial Uncle Zhen." Zhen Shichao came out of the cave and walked out of the array. He instructed, "The Myriad Thunder Valley is a very important place for my thunderous palace. This old man remembers that there is a special rule in my thunderous palace. If anything happens to the Myriad Thunder Valley, the patrolling disciples will be crippled of their cultivation and expelled from the sect. In the worst case, they will be killed on the spot. Wuxia, the burden on your shoulders is very heavy. You must take good care of this place and don't let anything happen to it. Otherwise, you and I won't be able to answer to the Thunderous Palace and the sect master." "Yes, this disciple understands." Wuxia replied respectfully and accompanied Zhen Shichao to the outskirts of the Myriad Thunder Valley. However, he didn't really care about it. He didn't know when this sect rule came into effect. Now that he had sent out 2 transmission amulets and specially went to the Thunderous Palace to invite Zhen Shichao over, he was still being treated as if he was trying to take credit. Zhen Shichao's words were just a fake reprimand. "And ever since you started guarding the Myriad Thunder Valley, this old man has come here many times." Zhen Shichao encouraged Wuxia again. "Now that your cultivation has reached the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment, if you have any opportunities, quickly condense your core. Also let your disciples come and keep watch. I heard that Xiangyang is already in the middle stage of foundation establishment. It should be time for him to enter the Myriad Thunder Valley. And your other 2 disciples seem to be pretty good too. Let them come in and take a look. Nurture them as soon as possible." "Yes, this disciple understands." Wuxia smiled helplessly and didn't know how to explain. He then said, "This disciple has 3 disciples. The one with the lowest cultivation, Xiao Hua, has only been in foundation establishment for a few years, and is far from being able to guard Jilei Peak. However, the second disciple, Cui Hongshan, has steadily improved his cultivation. After this year's dual cultivation ceremony, this junior will take a look and focus on nurturing him. After 10 years, he will be able to guard Jilei Peak." "He dual cultivation?" Zhen Shichao laughed. "Which female disciple of the Myriad Thunder Valley has a marriage alliance with?" "Yes, Martial Uncle knows. It's Dui Qiming from the Thunderous Palace." "Oh, I seem to have some impression of her." Zhen Shichao nodded and then said, Plans can't be compared to changes. I'm afraid your perfect plan will fail. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.